Guys, hello and welcome to the 6CW Legacy podcast, brought to you in a much delayed fashion by Harlequin Productions. And today, guys, we have an exciting show for you. It's going to be amazing. We've got two guests, we've got loads to talk about. So, without further ado, get to ours. Hello and welcome to the 6CW Legacy podcast. And as I said in the opening, we have two fantastic guests for you today. We have got Ed Kent, also known as Kenty F1, or in some circles, Benty F1. And we also have Paul McCarthy, the boss. So, without further ado, welcome guys to the show.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. Chris, thanks for the change of name. Yeah, I'm the guy who talks a lot of shit, so enjoy me for 2 hours.
You're the guy that fills our chat threads with inane nonsense.
Absolutely. Would you change it?
No, not for a second.
There you go. See, it's boss, isn't it?
Yeah, Ed, I mean, Facebook chat is legendary when you're on.
Thank you, sir.
So first of all, we'll go with Paul first. Can you talk a little bit about who you are in the world of 6CW?
I'm just one of the people that hide away in the background. One of the doing the menial tasks. No, I'm Paul Mack 6CW. I've been part of 6CW for about 10 years off and on. In the guise of a character, so Lex Hart from way back when. Right through to when it originally kind of ceased to be, and then I brought it back 3 years or so ago with Ed's good friend Dubs.
Good old Dubs.
And ever since then, I've been trying to keep you all entertained on a fortnightly basis with our little shows.
Yeah, I mean, I like the fortnightly basis now. It's better. Because obviously when you're doing it weekly, some characters don't have the longevity to be able to do it every single week for a month, then a pay-per-view, and then again and again and again every single month for a year. A lot of people just think, you know what, I can't do this anymore. I don't know if you agree with me on that.
The fortnightly schedule is good because it helps us kind of recharge the batteries after each show, because it's nice to have that break as soon as you've posted the show to kind of reflect, get your feedback, and then we can kind of look ahead to the next one. It's nice to have 3 or 4 days where you're actually not doing anything, and then we start again with the build-up, with the writing, and then obviously the posting and the feedback, etc. And it helps with the pay-per-view schedule. You don't want to have kind of 9-10 pay-per-views a year.
No,
it's better to have 5 or 6 bigger ones, and I think that's kind of set 6CW apart from quite a few of the other refeds we've been involved in, and I think that's probably why we've been able to succeed in the way that we have over the last few years.
Yep, I agree. Ed.
Yep.
Paul's had his.
I think being a part of 6CW to begin with. What was it, about 5 years ago now? Coming on 5 years. I've had 2 characters. I've been lucky enough to take part. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a great laugh actually. I just love sort of the group we've got going. I've kind of grown from this small chubby little teenage kid, writing paragraph or 2
to Mr. Muscle.
To me, perhaps, well, I like to think so, but you don't want to inflate my ego anymore. I just love it. It's just such a cool thing to do, like creative writing. So we're in a very good little spot at the minute. I think the way 6CW is going, it's incredible, man. It's and the format we got going is probably the best it ever has been. Sorry, being a part of 6WF for a few years as well. I mean, the weekly shows were they were good quality, but you could almost sense sometimes it was a bit of a we had one show and it's a quick turnover, and people either didn't have the time or but with the 2 weeks it's spot on. So big props to Mr. McCarthy and Mr. Evans and Chris, and they're doing a great job. So
and obviously JJ as well before he left.
Of course,
brilliant.
Yeah, JJ before obviously was massive in terms of e-fedding for 6CW, 6WF, and his other feds that he's had over the few years. Matt is obviously just kind of e-fedding through and through. Nobody can write a match like he can. As you probably saw from the last main event, it was absolutely amazing. And Chris has just stepped up to the plate. You probably don't know, he's been part of the creative team for quite a long time. So the tag team stuff with the Red Arrows was kind of came to the table from him. He kind of developed the idea, and we kind of ran with it for the last kind of 18 months. So he's had an influence in 6CW for quite a long time. So he just seemed a really natural person to take that kind of formal place on the creative team. So no, I'm really happy with everyone that I've worked with over the last kind of 3 or so years. Dubs introduced me to this side of e-fedding and kind of gave me the bug. And then from then, I've just been really lucky to work with some really, really talented people. So it's been a really, really enjoyable few years.
And there are some very, very talented people in 6CW. I think the quality of promo at the minute is very good, and there's a lot actually doing it every week.
I think we've been very lucky for the last 3 years probably. Everyone has been on their game week in, week out, and have been really keen to promo. It's a really nice thing for us that when we put a show on, that people promo kind of almost that day, that they're that keen, that they're kind of inspired by what we've written, that they want to put a promo down straight away. So that's great as a creative team to see. And the fact that things like this, like the podcast, all of the behind the curtain stuff, the stuff that you're taking forward, Ed, in terms of the Divas stuff, the
6CW Uncovered.
That's what it was called, yeah. All of that kind of stuff is just creating kind of the 6CW universe that me and JJ spoke about for kind of months and months. And we tried to get kicked off with the original behind the curtain stuff, and it just stumbled a bit because it was kind of me writing a lot of stuff, and I didn't want to write too much because I felt like I'd be giving away spoilers, so I kind of had to pull back on a lot of stuff that I was writing because I knew too much. Whereas if you lot write it, then it is just kind of rumour, conjecture, and it's just really good stuff to add to the discussion. So I think it's a brilliant time to be part of 6CW in terms of a creative outlet. It's great.
I can only add, it's just unreal. Going back to what Paul said, I mean, when the show goes up, the next morning when the car goes up, legends, Liam Woods, top dollar promo, Darren, all people like that, and it's pretty special, having people that enthusiastic about writing and just going for it, and it's wicked, I must say. It's really cool.
Some people just wait till the Sunday before the show, though, don't they, Ed? So.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a bad fart, so it's you know me, I'm top procrastinator. So I wish I could be like those guys and the rest of you. But
this is a good strategy. This is a good strategy. You see, I promo like pretty much the day after the show, and I'll do a couple of promos. But Ed promos the day before the show. It's in your memory. You know it. It's there.
Maybe I've been playing a canny game for 5 years. I don't know. No,
that's why he's so high up the card. You see,
yeah, exactly. I mean, you know me. It's as I said, too relaxed on I. But no, it's just me. Being me.
That's my first tip on promo 101, by the way. Do what Ed does. I'm only jesting you, Ed. I'm happy for people to promo whenever they get the time to. I know that real life comes first, but we all do love this because we've done it for so long. So I accept the fact that people promo as and when they can, and they will be on the Facebook chat as and when they can, and they'll be on version 2 as and when they can.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And if they can't be on, just give me a PM and just let me know that they may be going through something for a couple of weeks and they can't promo, and I'm more than happy to kind of keep things ticking over for people, because I don't want people to think that if they miss a show that we'll forget about them. I think as we've shown in the past, we're more than happy to keep things ticking over for people as long as they keep us in the loop. It's upsetting when people just disappear, and I know sometimes it can't be helped, but more often than not you see people on other threads, but you see that they're not promoting for us, and that's kind of when it kind of puts a lump in your throat.
I mean, as Paul said, you know, his inbox is a pretty cool place to be. So yeah, that would be my sort of advice to people. If you know, as well, if things are a bit tough, just email the gods and they'll be cool. So yeah, no sweat.
Facebook helps so much because people can just set up a personal kind of group chat like we have, and we can I can kind of just spitball around some ideas with people. I was talking to Liam this morning about a few ideas because he's always coming up with stuff not just for his characters but maybe looking at other things, because he's obviously got that creative side within him, as we've seen with the drawings and stuff. And that's great. I'm all for that. I love ideas. I can't guarantee that we're going to take them all on and you'll see them written, because that would be boring if everyone knew what was coming. I would like to think we're creative enough that we come up with our own stuff. But I welcome ideas. The more the better.
Well, I always think that the WWE, they always try and snitch and snake on our ideas. So you're doing a top job. So
I definitely think that somebody from WWE reads our shows, because we had the authority before they did, and that is some kind of coincidence that a few months later they suddenly roll out this massive team that are called the Authority.
Well, I think old Triple H has gone down in my estimations then.
Well, they have to get Roman Reigns over somehow, don't they?
Oh yeah. No comment.
Anyway, so without further ado, we'll go straight on to the questions. How did you both get into 6CW? Whoever wants to go first.
You go first, Ed.
Oh, it's such a gent. Okay, well, I got involved with eFedding because, as you know, Matt is he's quite a good friend of mine, and he's only 3 doors away from me. And we walk home from school, and he goes, you should really, try. I was a bit kind of like, oh, I don't know, will I be any good at it, or stuff like that. And in the end, I dropped an email to JJ. Yeah, it was JJ at the time, who was in charge of 6CW. A couple of years ago when it first started to really sort of start going, and yeah, straight onto one of the first shows. I did a quick promo. I think it only took me about 5-10 minutes, a paragraph and a bit, and and it just escalated from there really, and I've loved it ever since. When it originally shut down about in 2013, I think. It sucked. It was absolutely, it was crap, because I got into it so well. I was enjoying writing and, getting into it, and it hurt when, Dub said, that's it. So anyway, I took a few years off 6CW doing 6CWF, and then I came back last summer, so it was bigger and better than I could have ever thought, to be honest, and and as I said earlier, it's just so cool to be, amongst some really, really strong creative writers, and they are, it's unreal. It's just so cool, and now we're in 2016. I'm, 5 years older, probably not 5 years wiser. So it's good. It's good.
What was the bit that got you hooked in, Ed? When did you know that it was kind of in your blood? And
probably, to be fair, I don't know. I guess once sort of the community at the time, people like CJ Leone, he dropped me a message. It was just it was quite cool having that sort of instant connection with these people who, you know, I've never met, never spoke to. You know, just dropping me an email saying, "Oh, welcome. You know, how are you?" Blah 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 blah. But I really got a bug as well from it. I mean, just reading it and just, you know, thinking, wow, this is, you know, it's pretty cool, and just seeing how different storylines progress. You know what I mean? It's just so, it's brilliant. It's cool. So yeah, it's definitely really enjoyable. Well, I love it anyway. So yeah.
And Paul?
Well, I used to be on the 606 website, so the old BBC website, mainly for the football threads, and I just happened to, I don't know why, I just clicked on the wrestling area and started reading some of the discussions that were going on there, and then there was one around 6WF, and there was a hero promo on there, and I can't remember if it was really good and it hooked me in, or if I thought, that's, even I can do that, or so I'm not really sure why, but I then kind of investigated it a bit more and started bringing up some of their shows and some of the other promos, and then for some reason I didn't sign up for 6WF. There must have been some kind of disagreement going on at the time between 6WF and some other people, and I found my way to 6CW. So then I was looking on that site, and I tried to come up with a character that I thought would be really good. And because I wasn't the most creative person at the time, the best I could come up with was a distant relative of Bret Hart called Lex, who was also trained in the dungeon, but wasn't as famous as any of his family members.
Is that all he did in the dungeon?
Sorry?
Is that all he did in the dungeon?
Well, you know, we had to sign a special agreement when we left the dungeon that we wouldn't actually talk about what happened in the dungeon.
So what was that? What did Lex really do a movie with Jess? That's what I've always wondered.
Well, you know, people's what you can imagine in your mind is probably a lot better than the way I could describe it. So, you know, just let your imagination go wild.
Boss, brilliant.
But no, and that kind of hooked me in. So at 6CW, and I remember at the point that I was really hooked because I went on holiday with my fiance at the time, who's now my wife, and I remember making an excuse that I had to go and check my emails for some reason, and what I was actually doing is finding time to promo while I was on holiday. At that point, I was kind of sat there and I thought, yeah, I think I'm probably hooked at this stage. So do I kind of pull away and not do so much, or do I just throw myself in? And I took the latter option and just threw myself in, and the rest is history.
It's a great excuse when I finish work and I think, oh, I'm gonna have a few pints, and the lads keep trying to buy me more drinks, and I'm like, yeah, but I've got the site, and they don't know what the site is, but they understand when I say the site that I've got to go. You know, it's the same with the missus. The missus, I'll just say, I'm doing some work for the site. Like today, she's gone off. I've said, right, don't disturb me. I'm doing a podcast for the site. What's it about? Wrestling. And that's as far as, obviously, it's not that I'm ashamed, it's just I don't think they'd understand. You know.
It's how you describe it, though. That's the thing. How do you actually describe it to somebody so they fully understand what we do? Because it's about wrestling, but it's not really about wrestling, so to speak. It's more of a creative writing kind of outlet. But we all do enjoy wrestling, so we all do kind of connect in our discussions about wrestling. We understand kind of what happens in the ring, but I think the main reason why we enjoy it so much is kind of that creative outlet, and that's why we do the podcast and all the other bits, because it's more creative stuff that we can kind of do. It just so happens it's under the umbrella of wrestling. So I'm not sure which is geekier. Is it the EFED bit, or is it the wrestling bit, or is it just kind of we've just reached a whole new geek level?
Yeah, I think we're on a new level of geekiness, but that's cool. You know, it's so cool. I mean, I guess if probably, you know, a few people saw me in the street, they probably think, oh, he doesn't, pretend to, be a wrestler online. You know, it's It's crazy. But as Paul said, it's.
Do you think people walk down the street thinking that? Do you think they point at people and go, well, yeah, he's definitely not a pretend wrestler. He might be. He's wearing a lot of lycra, so he.
Yeah,
could.
well, in the gym, I've got vests on, shorts on. It's all that is. Stems from the
I
mind,
imagine you go to the gym and mock promo while you're staring at the mirror. That's how I imagine it. That you're keeping on and you're promoing at the same time.
I'll tell you what. While I'm doing squats or deadlifts, I'm thinking, oh, how can I keep up with these guys? It's heavy, man.
I mean, I went to a meeting with Sky Sports at Aston Villa last week, and they asked us to advertise more sports, and I was very tempted to put a 6CW poster in the pub advertising the shows, but my area manager sort of vetoed that idea.
Did you have to? That would have been an interesting conversation to listen in on. If you want, I could have maybe presented them with our with our model, and then they could have seen whether or not it was a viable thing to take forward.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm thinking about going to the bank for extra funding too. We can just kind of build this even bigger.
Yeah, do it for real. Why not?
Just blue sky thinking.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, people have said on the chat on Facebook, Pete being one of them, and even yourself, Paul, when we were a couple of years younger, we'd go to the park or, do random shit like that, doing frog splash off slides or stuff. So, it's be my guest.
It's just another extension of our wrestling geekiness.
Absolutely,
various different things that we've done throughout the years to kind of show our love for wrestling, and this is just another one. My wife knows what I do. Whenever she kind of says 6CW with kind of air commas, as if to say, no, you're not talking to 6CW online. Some secret woman, but it's 6CW.
Didn't one time, didn't I send you a Snapchat or something, and your missus turned around to you and said, "Who's that strange bloke that keeps sending you all these Snapchats?" That did actually happen, didn't it?
Yeah, she picked up one of them.
Yeah, that happened. I remember.
Oh, brilliant! Incredible.
Yeah, and I know that a year or so ago, I was talking to Darren quite a lot about the Joshua character, and we were kind of developing that idea. And so there was a lot of texting going on and messaging and stuff. and it was quite late at night because we were both working quite long hours. And so I was kind of getting ready for bed, and my phone was going off, and I was kind of running to get the phone, and she was like, "This is very strange. Are you sure this is 6CW?" And I was like, yeah, it's definitely 6CW. There's nothing strange going on here whatsoever, apart from the fact that we're discussing the progress of a man who carries a wooden doll round.
It's like when I snuck off to the bedroom yesterday to do a sound check with Ed, and I said to Mrs. I need to do a sound check with Ed on the on Skype. What do you mean? You're doing your podcast tomorrow? Can't you do it tomorrow? No, this is urgent. I need to do it now. And then it was like, she was being very suspicious about the whole situation. Who are you speaking to? Ed. What's the second name?
Just for the record, hi Mrs. McCarthy and hi Mrs. Poynton. Just to let you know, I'm Ed. And
I don't think they'll ever listen to this.
Oh well, just in the face.
I'm going to make my wife listen to it. I'm going to say, look, this is what I do. I'm important. They call me the boss.
Okay.
There's only me and Springsteen that get that name.
Just to finish off that little bit, when I first started the Extreme Wrestling Federation, it was me and my friend Dave, and Dave was promoing as Mickey G and I was Johnny Lawless. And a few weeks back, I had an idea for the Extreme tournament. By the way, the Extreme tournament is running. Entries got to be in by the end of July, I believe, or is it June?
TikTok lads.
Guys, get in there.
Have you extended the invitation to the wider V2 kind of universe? No,
not yet. Not yet.
I think because Adam Davey, or who was Hobo previously, who was obviously one of the creators of the website, he tried something similar, and there was quite a lot of interest in it. But it's a case of just getting people's awareness, because they might not delve into the 6CW kind of area to see it. So maybe speak to Adam or speak to somebody like Hero or someone, and just see if you can get just a general, like a pinned note out, just letting people know that it's coming, because you might find that there are some people who might, as just a one-off, pick it up and then they might then go, oh, I quite like this. I might look at what that 6CW stuff
Yeah,
is.
I mean, it's obviously going to be an advertisement for 6CW as well, which is brilliant if we can get more people in, and I will look at, obviously, advertising it outside of the site. But what I was going to say is, I went back to Dave and I said, look, I'm going to be doing some promos, and he went, you're still doing that shit? I was like, yeah, I enjoy doing it. I said to him, can I have your permission to promo as Mickey G? And they were like, who? And, I think, some people obviously grow out of it, some people stick with it like we have. But I really enjoy the whole family of it. Everyone gets on with each other. There's no real arguing unless it's Liam and Dicey or on chat.
You just point, saying stupid shit.
But we haven't really had any big fallings out. I know that people push each other's buttons, which is always that's how it's meant to be. That's what men do.
Yeah.
We're not there to hold each other's hands and tell each other you're fantastic all the time. You take the mick out of each other, and that's how you kind of show affection in some.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, I've said as well, don't take me seriously because I just I go off on one, don't I? So yeah.
Right. Okay. I think we've covered like the direction 6CW is going in, like in the opening part. So I'm going to move on to. Would you, Paul, ever consider sort of starting up the separate site again to sort of attract people that aren't necessarily going to 606?
Well, it's a hard one. So we've spoken to the owners of V2 before to try and increase kind of our visibility across the site, because we know that they're not very good at advertising themselves externally. So if you search on Google, you might come across version V2, but if you're trying to find eFedding, we're not the obvious place for them to find. So I don't know if you know what Darren kind of does in his day job, but he's really good at kind of the Google Analytic kind of stuff to make sure that people find the site that you want them to find. So he has offered to kind of do some tweaks in the background so that V2 is kind of the first place that people find.
Yeah.
So we want to develop that idea. If that kind of falls, on its arse and we're not allowed to, then yeah, we probably need to look at other options, because we're not really bringing in anyone new at the moment from the V2 pool. Whereas previously, every now and again, you'd kind of pick up the odd new person. The new people we're picking up at the moment will be people who have come across from 6WF or kind of drifted away from 6CW, but now they've come back. Mm-hmm. So what we're trying to look at now is how we get the new eFedder, because there'll be people out there who are into wrestling that have never considered eFedding before. So how do we get them on board? So that's what we're looking at. We do have other external sites kind of set up in the background, so the transition would be fairly easy because we've always had them set up. We've used them before for the creative team. So me and Dubs used to have our own site with an admin area, and we would just discuss all of the areas on there.
Yeah.
So there is that option that we could move across. Whether or not we have to, if we, burn our bridges with version 2, you never know what's going to happen in the future. So I'll never say never. But at the moment, I'm more than happy with V2, and it's kind of gives us the freedom to grow. But we'll see what happens.
Do you have anything to add on that, Ed?
Well, I was just literally going to say, as Paul said, there is another site for 6CW and people to join in. I think what I would probably suggest is have someone run a Twitter account and try and get in contact with other sort of people, like-minded people. I think Nay used to run the 6WF Twitter account.
Yeah,
he didn't use it often enough, but I mean he used it occasionally, and it did get in contact with some people at different sort of feds around the world. So maybe that's an idea. But I mean, as Paul did say again, we haven't got new people coming in. I mean, we're lucky at the minute because we've got quite a big sort of group of people and we can sort of get a minimum 20 promos, which in itself in 2 weeks, it's pretty good going, and the consistency as well. It's it's in good shape at the minute, but I do agree we need another outlet just to maybe get some more people in.
Yeah,
we've got like a roster of about 20 people, which is a good number. We've got how many titles have we got on the go at the moment? What, 5?
Yeah, I'd roughly say that. Yeah,
five titles, so spread across a roster of 20. You could argue that might be one too many titles, but because we've got a strong tag roster, that kind of picks up 6 or 8 kind of people in that. So I'm happy with the numbers that we've got. So I'm not kind of desperate to bring in new people. I am having discussions with people at the moment, so there are possibilities. So I'll put that out as a spoiler at the moment. There are possibilities of new people coming in soon,
which is brilliant.
Yeah, which is ace. If it's the people I think of, then I'm very happy boy.
Well, it's not one of the people that you've mentioned. It's definitely not that person.
Nah, never mind. Never mind. Love you, Rich.
But yeah, we're definitely on the kind of the cusp of bringing in some new people there. But I definitely want to work with version 2, like with V2 on it. So if we can get like a landing page, a 6CW landing page that then directs people to V2, I'm all for that. It's only if that option kind of is completely kind of not open to us, then we'll look at others. But because I'm very aware of the problems that 6WF had with it.
Yeah.
So I don't want to recreate their mistakes. So I'd rather learn from them rather than kind of just go down the same path.
I think the issue with what 6WF did, I think that having a site by itself is good, but it's in a way it isolates. And if you haven't got kind of a sort of a system where people are directed to it, or you've got interest around the world, different people, then it's tough. I mean, it's near on impossible to keep churning out show after show after show if there's no fresh people, and the site becomes kind of, as I said, isolated. So yeah, I mean, I would only suggest that if 6CW did launch a new site or have another new sort of platform to build on, and I would probably strongly recommend having some kind of just a feeding system, so it's always kept inside of mind, if you know what I mean. So
that's definitely what we would want to do. I think the problem 6WF had is it was only an e-feeding site, so that was the only discussions within there. People tried to have other sections in there, but it didn't really take off. So you kind of need other reasons for people to talk, which is why it's good we've got the Facebook site, because people talk a lot on there. And sometimes I wish that if they would move some of that conversation onto V2, some of it's really good stuff, and I think it might kind of pick up a bit more interest amongst those who aren't on the Facebook thread. Because remember, there are a few that aren't on it.
I think
in terms of Twitter, I definitely agree that it would be good if somebody could pick up the reins on that. So if there is anyone listening to this, or anyone who's taken part in this podcast that would quite like to take over the reins on the Twitter feed, then I'm more than happy to give them the details. I do warn you, there are a lot of weird people on Twitter who e-fed, and they will get in touch with you, and they will try to speak to you about various things. But if you can filter out the weirdos, then I'm sure you'll get through to some good people that can maybe join us.
The weirdos are always good as well, though. I mean, it's always good to have somebody that you can just, secretly just laugh at, like Yarmouth Blade. Anyway.
Everyone needs an angle.
Everyone needs an angle, yeah.
Oh, I was going to push that idea out there, but I thought, nah, he's the host, so I don't want to be kicked off. So
I don't have that filter between my mouth and my brain, unfortunately. So that's another reason why it's good to have the fortnightly break. Because if I was churning out stuff all the time, it would just.
You burn yourself out, don't you?
Yeah, of course you do. Yeah. Ed, next question's for you, my friend.
Yeah, mate.
What would you change, if anything, about any of your characters in hindsight?
Wow. Well, as you know, I've got 2 characters. One, the old slag, is he's doing different things these days. He's far away from wrestling. God knows what he's doing. Aaron Heath. Well, Heath, I mean, the one thing I'd probably change about him, if I could, would probably be, maybe toning down some of the stuff he says, because it's pretty. I mean, it is pretty heavy stuff, and I think I've gone too. I think this is probably one of my problems with it. I've gone too down the route of like he's been chosen by God to do this and that. It sounds like some kind of like supervillain off a Avengers movie or something, and it looks a bit silly in my view. So I might have to tweak a few things like that. But yeah, probably that's all I can probably think of, to be honest.
Because that's the one thing I noticed when I've been reading, because obviously I read all the promos in detail to try and kind of find your voice when I'm writing the shows, and that's one of the things I picked up on. The kind of the religious undertones have been getting stronger and stronger in the last few promos. I wasn't sure if that was something that you wanted us to kind of move towards, or if it's just something that you were just trying out. Because I know sometimes with my promos, I do kind of throw a lot of stuff out there, see what sticks, and especially in the early days, which you'll probably agree that Heath is still probably in the early days of the character progression, because in terms...
Oh, definitely, mate, yeah, definitely.
In comparison to Kenty, who obviously you had for years and years, Heath's fairly new. Although the stuff that you've been doing up to now as Heath has been really good, and as I've said before, it's a real asset to 6CW. It's a great character.
Yeah, no, I appreciate. Thank you. That means a lot, man. It's it is cool. I mean, I guess with the religious stuff, I mean, it's pretty cool. But I mean, I think I'd probably tweak it a little bit, because I don't want to go off on some sort of like religious route, because I'll probably end up reading the Bible or doing some sort of weird religion stuff.
Hey, Austin started like that.
Read the Bible, that would be the worst.
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll be quoting some passage in the Bible. It's not. I mean, it works to an extent, providing I can actually utilise it well. But I mean, that's probably one of the things I'll tweak. Yeah, absolutely.
It's one of those things, you've got to be careful, because you could find yourself going down quite a narrow corridor.
No, definitely,
you don't really know how to get out. So we've definitely seen it in the past. I don't know. So with the Edward Plague character, he kind of Liam took him down a route which was really enjoyable, but you knew that it was coming to a point where he would have to just go.
Yeah,
there was no further development of the character. He had to disappear for a while. And then if he ever comes back, then we can kind of develop that character.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
I agree. I mean, I think the thing is, like, if a character was like that and he went down a route of, say it was a sort of a storyline, and you build it up, and then it finishes, and then you're like, oh crap, what can I do now? So it's as you said, it's a narrow path. So it's definitely food for thought. Yeah.
Okay.
But I've definitely enjoyed the promo so far. So I would just say, just tweak those little bits here and there, and you've seen that we're putting Heath into some really interesting storylines. So
absolutely.
The match he's got coming up in this next show, obviously, it should be really interesting for you. I wouldn't be put off too much. I would just maybe tweak a few things here and there, and not find yourself going down a route. As I'm not sure if Darren's going to listen to this, but he had a character in 6WF that had a fart gimmick.
Oh yeah, Vortex.
Yeah, and there's only so far you can take that before you kind of think, right, I'm either just going to pretend I never even had that gimmick and just start afresh, or it's going to come to a head and it's going to mean that Vortex is going to explode in a cloud of shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but no, exactly. No, you're right. I mean, it's tricky, but as you said, I love it, man. It's the storylines he's been involved in so far. I mean, the feud with who was it? Hero. Yeah, Hero. I mean, that was straight into it, and I really felt boy, this is going places. So that was incredible. Even though it was only for a few weeks, I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed that.
Okay.
It's one of those things that when we kind of look at people coming in, you kind of look at what they've done before. So we knew how well you'd done in 6WF with Kenty, so we knew that we could kind of give you a high-profile story going in, and you were fun with it. We had a little bit of concern whether or not Hero would be around to kind of do his side, which obviously did come to fruition in the end, but we knew that you'd be strong enough to carry that anyway, and a win over Hero is a good way in for people in kind of an E-Fed world.
Or just, go in for the match and then think, you know what, I'm not bothered about Hero, and just walk out. That wasn't actually Hero, was it? It was who was it? Who was it? My first match.
You mean when Angle just walked out?
Yeah. He attacked Hero, didn't he? The night before.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
It was,
Angle and Hero had history, didn't they? Because
Yes,
way
they
back
did, yeah.
when Angle kidnapped his son.
Which I cannot remember happening. I think that was obviously Dubs just writing for me at that point.
yeah. No, I remember
That was one of the few things from 6W that I actually remembered.
Yeah.
My memory's terrible, so.
Yeah, so was mine.
If you ever notice continuity mistakes in shows, that'll be down to me. I'm sure Chris and Matt are much better at things than that than me. I'm rubbish. I'll just make things up as I go along and think, oh yeah, I definitely did that.
It was Chael Kingdom.
That's the one. Yeah. So that's the he's champion at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, and that was a bit disappointing for me because I promoed with him, and he seems like a really good promoer, but I've not seen anything from him since that match.
Yeah, so Asa is Chael Kingdom, and he is a former creative Fed head of 6WF,
Yep.
I believe, from way back when. JJ knows him very well. JJ was kind of the guy who I think Asa contacted first in terms of him coming back. But I know that he has been very, very busy with work. So it's that thing again. Do you keep them ticking over because you know how keen they are to continue e-fedding, or do you reach a point where you just think, do you know what, we'll put him on the shelf for a bit, and there's always that opportunity for him to come back because we like the character.
Yeah, which we'll talk about when we get to New Dawn, obviously, because you've sort of kept the title on him at that pay-per-view and just had an all-out brawl in the end, which was brilliant, by the way. I've got some sweaty-handed, suited guys saying that we need to start putting sponsors on. However, we have got one last question before I'll go to the break. Guys, what would you both change about Angle?
Paul, you go first, buddy. Your turn.
That's not fair.
No, just go on. It's fine.
I will go first, but because I think that me and Peter have we've discussed Angle and the development of the character.
Yep.
As we've moved forward, and we both agreed on what we see happening. You know, we said that he needs to lose the clown, so that is one thing. Even though there's some people who have kind of ignored that fact that the clown has gone. You know, he's separated himself from that persona. Not to say that he can't go back to it, but it's something that he's definitely deliberately trying to avoid because he knows what that would mean.
I think I've adjusted the bio a little bit to say, you know what, the clown can come back, but only when he's needed, sort of thing.
Yeah, and I think you said in your promo you don't want him to come back to the other people. You don't.
Yeah.
You wouldn't like me when I'm the clown, almost.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to face that, which is great. I love that kind of. I don't want to use the corporate Kane and the demon Kane kind of analogy, but not as comedic as that, but where there is that separation where you know that they can just, or like Finn Balor with a demon, where you just know that he's just going to go full out clown and just kick someone's arse all over the place.
Yeah, I had a suggestion from Joshua, Darren, yesterday about maybe having like a split personality. Do you think that could be a route to go down, or do you think that's maybe a bit too much at this moment in time?
Gregors did it before in 6WF with Chaos, didn't he? And that worked well. The evolution of Gregors into Chaos, that worked really well. But I think that Angle's a more rounded character than that. So I think that he's got that side to him that he could go back to. But I think now you know that he wants to be 6CW champion.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, going back to what Paul said, I mean, it's I think the clown it works to an extent, but I mean, it's good to have like an evolution of a character. I mean, as Paul said again, it's starting from the clown and building up. There's only so much you can do, and then once you've changed it takes on a new platform, new level, just for you to build on. So I mean, as I said to you that night in the chat, I mean, I think you're a brilliant promo. It's fantastic. I love reading it, and I think if you keep building up like that, it will only lead to massive things. Going back to kind of a split personality idea, I could see that working, but as Paul said again, I think Engle's more of a grounded character, and if you play on how he's becoming now, I think it can only lead to much bigger things. So keep at it, fella. You know how much I like your promos. So yeah, you're doing a cracking job.
Thanks, guys. Right, we'll have a quick break. Put sponsors on, and then we'll go on to the 606 questions and maybe start New Dawn, if that's all right.
Sounds good to me.
All right then, guys. Catch you in about 5.
Wicked, cool.
All right.
Awesome.
Not sure where to turn? Not sure if you're coming or going? FaceTurn is what you need. FaceTurn is a wristband which connected to your phone can monitor how your mood and self-esteem is feeling. This wonderful creation can monitor if you're on a high and nothing is going to stop you on the day, or if you're feeling low, moody and sullen, and all you need is your warm bed on these chilly nights. Simply turn it on at the top. The color red will flash if you're feeling angry, and the color blue will flash with a smile if you're happy and ready to face the world. Try FaceTurn now. FaceTurn. For when there's a turn, it's always a face turn. Welcome back to the podcast, guys. I am joined today with Ed Kent and Paul McCarthy of 6CW. And we're and we're going to go straight on to the questions from 606.
You don't actually say that, do you? Sure, that's just something you type. Please tell me you don't actually tell people all the time to get to ours.
Well, if I've had a few and I'm feeling a bit of my cheeky self, then yeah, occasionally I can be a bit of a wind-up merchant, as you can probably tell. So yeah.
I just wanted to check. I just thought it might have been something that you typed away as like kind of a, when people just put laugh out loud as just a kind of a throwaway. But no, if you wander around the club, just shouting "get to ours" at people, then each to their own.
It's all good. It's all good.
I don't understand the younger generation. I'm going to be 37 this year.
All this rustling and things like that. I've got Rustler's burgers in the fridge, but I don't know what it means.
I could do with a Rustler's burger, mate, trust me.
Right. Okay. As I said, I posted a topic on 606 version 2, with asking basically for questions from the 6CW universe, and we've got a few. It wasn't a great response, but hopefully it'll pick up in time. So I'll start off with this one to Paul.
Okay.
Over the past year, which storyline gave you the most satisfaction and which didn't quite pay off as well as you thought it would?
Over the past year?
Apparently. We can extend it to 3 if you want, but that's what the question says.
I think a similar question was asked on the Ask the Boss thing. So I think I've forgotten what I actually answered at that point. So let me think. Most satisfaction. So since the beginning, most satisfaction would have been the coming together of EWF and 6CW. The fact that we did it's like a simultaneous posting of the show, and then the last bit when when WWF and WCW kind of did a simultaneous live cast, and Shane McMahon walked out at WCW. We did something very similar, and people had no idea. So there was a few people that were reading the EWF show on their bit, and a few people that were reading the 6CW show, and then suddenly it all came together, and there was a massive, what the kind of a moment. So that was good, and it took a lot of planning, but I think me and JJ pulled it off. And that was something that we wanted to do from the beginning of EWF. We kind of had a discussion about the best way to go, and I said we kind of came up with that idea. So that was really good because that was long-term planning, and it came off. And I think the fact that we decided to bring the two threads together has paid off in the long run. So that's definitely one. The whole Authority, Jones, Callahan, Magnuson, the whole kind of way that we've thrown all that around, and bits and pieces have gone away and then they've come back a few months later, and hopefully people can see there's been threads running through the shows, and if you were to read back from shows a few months ago, you'd suddenly think, oh, that's what that meant. So those are the bits that kind of give me the most satisfaction over the whole time. Just the fact that we can, I like to put stories that are slow burners and things that you just drop into a show and it has no meaning to people, but then a few months later they'll see what it actually meant. Do you remember there was a Doctor Who a few years ago, and there was a reoccurring bit in it where there'd be posters and.
Was it the Bad Wolf?
The Bad Wolf stuff, yeah. And you wouldn't know what it was about until the storyline hit, and that just kind of resonated with me. I thought that's a brilliant way to tell a story where people don't really know that what's happening, but in their subconscious they know that it's something important, and then when it hits, it has that much more of an effect. So that's that's the stories I like to tell within 6CW. So hopefully, if a storyline kind of comes to an end point, you'll be able to see all the little bits that we've kind of tried to tell along the way. In terms of ones that haven't really hit the mark, we did a golden contract idea early on, which was kind of like the Fight for the Right, but it was meant to give somebody like loads of money. They could do what they wanted in the ring, and I realised pretty quickly that was a bit silly, that you couldn't have somebody who just couldn't be disqualified, they couldn't be counted out, and they basically had to win every match. That was kind of a learning curve that I kind of hit very, very quickly. And
it becomes very difficult to sort of what's the word? Create scenarios where they could lose. In that sort of situation, I can understand obviously the difficulty of doing that.
And people knew what was coming because they knew the guy wasn't going to lose. And the problem, I think, Dubs is a great E-Fed kind of head. But the problem is he has some really, really wild and off-the-cuff ideas. And I was coming in very green, so I had some wild and crazy ideas, and we didn't have a filter. So we were kind of both for Vince Russo at the time. And we didn't have anyone to stop us.
How many flags on a pole match did you have?
That was coming, believe me. If JJ hadn't come in at the time, I think that was next.
I think you must have signed Teddy Long recently with all the tag matches that you've had.
Well, it's because all the writers said they hate doing tag matches, so I just deliberately do it to annoy them.
Yeah.
It's a good rustle, really. I've noticed. Don't worry.
Okay, Ed. Do you miss Mr. Kenty? And how did you find it creating a new character with a fresh start after being established for so long?
Well,
I miss Mr. Kenty.
I think everyone does, don't they? I mean, I could be wrong, but no. I mean, I'd be lying to you if I said I didn't, because I do, because it was just such a, he was such a cool character. I was so lucky to have, some, massive storylines. I mean, Genesis, how long ago was that? 4 or 5 years ago? And yet people still talk about when they think about 6CW. So that was incredible. I mean, Paul, of course, Lex was revealed to be the big dude, the big bad dude behind it all.
The bad wolf.
It was as much a surprise for me as it was for everyone else. So I can't really take any credit in it whatsoever.
No.
Me and Dicey had a conversation once, and he kind of said, "I think it's you. I think you're the head, the leader." And I was like, "Surely I'd know. Surely somebody would have told me if I'm going to be the leader of Genesis." And then we did some kind of promo where I was trying to find the leader of Genesis, and I found Phil Collins in a cupboard, and I tied him up somewhere. But we were really doing really great promos at the time.
Yeah, and you called me Bobo in one of them.
Not that you've remembered. Not that
I have a disdain for Lex Hart.
No, but I mean, it was. I just thought it was just such a cool, way, and I can only thank JJ for it, because I was sort of flung in, being relatively new, flung into, promos like Paul, who was Steve Aberdeen. Steve was his username. He had Jackson Black, and he was
Black. Yeah,
he was wicked. Michael Sweetwater as well, cracking promoer. Sorry,
he was Nate Nack.
Yeah, so. Nate Nack. And I mean. That was incredible, and I still think that's one of my best storylines that I was part of. In regards to sort of a fresh start, I mean, no, it was quite easy actually, because I always, despite being on 6WF, I always kept a really, really close eye on 6CW, because a lot of my friends were on there as well. I had a lot of connections still with 6CW, and I mean, I'd have a few notes here and there off JJ and Paul, and we just talk, a bit.
I think it's fair to say at this point, Ed, that we tried to poach you a few times.
Yep.
And fair play to you. You did stand by 6WF at the very end, and that you've got to be respected for that, because we were in kind of we were fighting against each other at the time, us 6WF, and there was a kind of back and forth, and we thought, we'll try and get your best people,
You have a question about that, don't you, Paul?
No, well, kind of, yeah. But yeah, we tried. So we did try and get you for a long, long time, and I'm very pleased that we got you in the end. But like we said, we both agreed that maybe it wouldn't be best to bring Kenty across because of all of his history, and it might be good for you to start afresh.
Yeah,
I think it was a great option.
Yeah, I mean, as Paul said, we had a few emails sent over towards the end of the time of 6WF, and I had such massive respect for Matt and Rich, because Matt as well, especially, I'm so chuffed he's part of 6CW as well, and I just felt sort of a massive loyalty towards them, because I did feel quite bad at the time how the 6WF went stale, and it hurt a little bit because I was there for 2 years or so it sucked. In regards to bringing Kenty back to 6CW, me and Paul did have a chat a couple of weeks ago actually, and we both agreed that it probably wouldn't be the best idea to bring him back, purely because of the depth of who we've got on the show itself. I just think we both felt sorry that it probably wasn't in the sort of the best interests for myself with another character and everyone else, because it would be so tough to sort of shoehorn him in, and it just wouldn't. I wouldn't feel right in doing that. So I can only say never, but I do miss him. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
I think for also a good reason for not bringing Kenty is that kind of character would demand such a big story because of the history he's got with so many people, and I didn't want to take away some of the spotlight from Heath, because I think that he is on an upward trajectory, and so it would have spoiled that kind of character development if we'd have then brought somebody else in that you were kind of managing who already had such a big name. I think sometimes it's good to start as nothing and then develop the character through, as you did with Kenty originally. So we've discussed it, and I think that's probably the best way forward for Heath at the moment.
Yeah.
But I'll never say never. Kenty's a great character, and there is history there that we could play on and we could use. So if I ever reach a point where Lex wants to call someone out, then
I'll be your guy. You know me.
Okay, I don't know if you can answer the next one, Paul, and I don't really want to get involved in it too much, because we have had a discussion about Dicey and obviously where the current storyline's going. So, Ed, I'm going to pose it to you. What are your thoughts on Dicey's relentless drinking and where it's heading?
It's a heavy storyline. I mean, and I can only say the three guys running the joint. It's such a it's an interesting storyline. I mean, it's not often we have these sort of storylines, and it's going to have a massive payoff. I mean, I think and Deck as well. He's 6CW through and through, and he's a top guy. He always makes us laugh, doesn't he? You have to have a heart of steel not to laugh at him. What he says. I think the storyline for the character it's looking good. I mean, I think it's heading towards sort of the hardcore side of things with Cerberus, Matt's character, and of course your character Pete Engel.
Yeah.
I think there must be. It's hard to see. I mean, I think he's going to be in the hardcore sort of division for a little bit, but I got a really sneaky feeling we could see him in the title picture as a path of his redemption, if that makes any sense. Which I would be, more than happy. It would be incredible. We did actually chat on the the Facebook group a couple of weeks ago, and I did say, you best not be going, mate. You best not be calling it a day. And he kind of said, no, I'm not going anywhere, you mug. So I mean, I can only speak highly of him because he is Mr. 6CW, isn't he?
Yeah, Ed, I would like to point out that I did write. So the bit in the last show where Dicey came out drunk and was kind of rambling to the fans. There was a bit in there that was a deliberate pause aimed at you to make you think that Dicey may be preparing his retirement speech.
Yeah.
There was a bit in there where Kramer, or I think Kramer said something like, "You know what to do," or something.
Yeah. No, I picked up on that and I thought, he better not be, they better not be winding me up, because I will literally, no, I want to kick off really. I mean, it would suck losing someone like that. So
it's definitely good to do things like that. So I hope you all pick up on that. If we see a conversation on Facebook or something in the V2 threads, and we see there's like a reoccurring theme going on, then we might play on it a bit in the shows. So it's always good to have a little bit of fun. But I think in terms of Dicey, he's been involved in some really big stories in his past. He was the last person to hold the heavyweight championship before 6CW died previously.
Yep.
So it's another guy that we wanted to bring back, and he was very, very loyal to 6WF because he was Chris Patrick's in 6WF.
Yep.
So it was a massive buzz to get Dicey back, and then when he came in, we put him into a tag team with Perfect Jack, and we knew that at that point Jack would heel turn on him really quickly. We thought that we would put them two together, and then as we moved forward, we were kind of coming up with where we wanted Dicey to go, and we thought maybe he could go back into his extreme roots. And then, as if by magic, we put him and Liam in a match on an episode of Anarchy, or it might have been an Aftermath, and you could just see there was a spark there as they were promoing. And those are the times where you really think, right, as soon as you see it, you go, right, we're going to run with that.
Yeah.
And that's where that's where the last kind of feud came, and that was probably the feud of last year. The argument would be that was one of the biggest feuds, and
massive,
there was no titles involved. It was just two people that really, really didn't like each other.
They're always the best.
Them
sort of
go
rivalries.
after that. You don't either to come out weak, and I don't think you have.
Yeah. No, I was just going to say as well. I think Dicey and what Deck does with him is incredible, because I was lucky enough. I've been lucky enough to promo with him on quite a few occasions. One being the last 6CW show before it went down, and then again in 6WF for Chris Patrick's. And every single time he promos, it's he's just so passionate about it. And as you said, reading the rivalry between Wood and Dicey. I would always take the mick out of Liam on Facebook or whatever, and it's incredible. It really was one of the best rivalries I can probably remember, and it's a credit to both of them, to be fair.
Yeah.
Well, the challenge for us was to cement Wood's heel turn.
Yeah.
As we'll take the mick out of it over and over again, saying, has he really turned heel? But that was the challenge. That's what we wanted to do in a feud with him. And who better than kind of the 6CW original? So that was the challenge there, and that's what we got out of that. And then obviously we did Dicey to kind of develop as a character, because he's already done so much and gone through so much. So how do you develop that character even more? We thought, well, we'll strip him down again, and he starts to question. This new guy has come through. The guy, Liam Wood, who wasn't winning stuff, but he beat Dicey. He so how will Dicey react to that? And what he does, he goes back to kind of his default position, which is drinking. Sally Hendricks comes by and he gets involved in that relationship again, and he starts to hit rock bottom. Or as Engel said, you don't hit rock bottom until you get involved in this. This is what's going to get you to rock bottom, and from there you can grow. So,
well, we're going to go obviously into the Dicey and Liam Wood thing when we talk about New Dawn. I will say I've got to thank Paul for getting Dicey involved with me, because I've always wanted to work with him promo wise, etc. And it'll be the first time that Dicey and Engel have ever sort of been involved in any sort of one-on-one sort of thing. Or, well, it's a triple threat obviously, but there's plenty of time there for back and forths and things.
If it happens,
yeah. Going on to the next question, I think it's for Paul. It's from Liam Wood. When it comes to promos, do you prefer it if someone comes to you for advice, and plays the role that you're writing for them, or do you want them to go out and do their own thing?
Well, we discussed this a little bit earlier, didn't we? When I said I do like people to come and discuss things with me.
Yeah.
But I think it's kind of it's a collective responsibility kind of thing. So it's up to you as promos to kind of take what we do in the show and kind of take that on board and run with that. But it's also for us as a creative team to read your promos, listen to your feedback, and make sure that we know how you think it would be best to develop your character. So it's kind of a bit of 50-50. So it's a bit of give and take. So there's no one way of doing things. I like to just kind of chat things through with people. You have a look at what we've done. If you think what we're doing is rubbish and it's not what your character would do, because we've had that discussion a few times, there's a certain ways that we're presenting your character and you don't think that that's the way the character would go, tell us and it won't happen again, and we'll move them on in another direction. I'm more than happy to do that.
I think there were two just as an example, 2 segments with Engel involved in the previous Anarchy, and you wrote one of them, which was obviously the one where Engel comes out after Dicey's come out drunk, and the other one I don't know who wrote it, but the difference in the actual segments was obvious, because you could tell that you go back and you read your promos and you think, right, that's his voice, that's how he wants to promo, that's how his character is, and the other one wasn't so much. And I think if you're writing a segment, it might be a good idea to sort of just read back.
Yeah. No, I think I'm trying to remember who wrote that other segment. It wasn't me, so that gets me off the hook.
Oh no, it's not a complaint. It's just like, obviously.
No, I don't. Did I do it? I can't. I wrote. I would like last week.
Kenny, you didn't do it. No, you didn't do it.
Let's not name any names here.
No, I completely agree. But I think if I remember, I think I know who the person who wrote it was, and I know that they would normally read through all of the promos. But it is very difficult to find the voice of somebody else's character at times. It is a really, really hard kind of task to do, especially with Engel, where he is such a complex character, so you do really need to find his voice. It's very much like the Joshua character.
Yeah.
You really need to get into like a rhythm of talking and kind of writing to get it across, and sometimes it takes 2 or 3 kind of edits before you get it right, and you just need to get in the right frame of mind. I definitely take that on board. I completely agree.
The next question, I think this one's a bit of a spoiler regarding Jonesy and a third group appearing, so maybe we'll avoid that one. So which 6CW superstar do you think could benefit from having a manager, or who would fit well with one? Before we go into this to answer it, managers in eFeds sort of work differently to how they do in real life, because in real life you use them as a voice for your character, whereas in an eFed it's more of a tool to add to your arsenal, because obviously you've got that extra character to play off in promos, etc.
See, I mean, if you don't mind me saying, I mean, you know what? I've read the shows, and I always think for some weird reason that someone like Cerberus, I mean, Matt's taken that character a long, long way, and I think if he had someone like a manager, for instance, who could possibly say, and this is, I remember, who was it? We're going back a long, long time ago, over a decade ago. I think Kane and Lita had something on WWE, I think I've always kind of pictured Cerberus a little like Kane. I don't know why. I really don't know why. It's just weird. But I think that could really add a new edge to Cerberus, and I think, it would be really cool to see something similar in that mould. So screw you, WWE. We'll nick one of your ideas. No, I mean, I don't know who. I could only really. I'd like to see Cerberus have one. In regards to other people, I don't know really.
It's a tough one. In terms of Cerberus, I didn't really know much about the character. I couldn't remember. I tried to look back at previous kind of promos and stuff, and I couldn't remember a great deal about what the character had kind of been involved in the past. I know the interaction with Engel and the hardcore stuff, but I think the way that they've been developed since they came back, I think they've really found their voice, and the style that they have now, I'd never expected that to come across. I think they've moved in a way that I didn't even see coming, and it's a positive way. So I think if we were to add a manager now, it may not be the best step. When they first came in, it would have been an idea that I probably would have considered. But I think they've now reached a point where they're really good interacting in promos, and to add a manager into the mix, it might take away a little bit. Unless it was like a valet type character where it is just a female kind of who comes in and interrupts the match, like a Miss Jessica kind of a.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think Jimbo's character, James McManus, I know he's recently just come back into the game, as to speak. I think if he used to have, I think it was. Jenny McManus, and something similar like that. I think for a character, another character would be it would be pretty cool, and we don't have many of those, so it would be pretty tidy to see. To be fair,
I like the idea of having other characters that you bounce off of in your promos. So I know Engel's had a few. I was speaking to Liam the other day about Perez and suggested that maybe he had a few people that he brought in, just within the inner circle of Perez that kind of he involved in his promos, and maybe we can get involved in matches from time to time just as a kind of character development. It's quite hard because Jones and Kramer are kind of quite so strong characters outside of kind of the wrestlers. It's tough to have managers on top of that, and when we had Jax Cutler and he had Michael Hathaway as his manager, you kind of found sometimes he was doing the same stuff that you would expect Jones or Kramer to do.
Yeah.
And because Jones is so strong, the manager doesn't really have that influence, because Jones would just come along and just say, well, it doesn't matter what you say because I'm the boss, and just do as you're told.
Well, I think Engel is going to be sacking Teresa off at some point in the near future.
Was that sacking then? Did you say sacking?
Yeah.
No, we got to keep Teresa, man. Come on, dude. What's going on?
We're going to go straight on to New Dawn. Just going to have a quick rundown of it, because I know, Paul, obviously you're pushed for time, and I want to try and get you on the Ask the Host section, because I think you've got some good questions, and it'd be good to have all three of us on, so that section isn't just tiny. Okay, so first of all, obviously with New Dawn, there was a bit of controversy in the feedback after. Do you think it was due to obviously the delays, which were of no fault of anyone's, or do you think that maybe it could have been a better show?
Is that aimed at me or aimed at Ed?
It's aimed at both of you, but whoever wants to answer first.
I don't mind. I'll start. I thought, and this is me being honest, and I said in the feedback, I thought the show, I think it was a really solid show. I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed reading it, and I like the way it was a bit controversial, because it gave a new sort of dimension and new ideas to be, to kind of take on board. And timekeeping, it's life. It happens, doesn't it? I mean, it's fine. It didn't bother me at all. I was just really happy to read it. But I mean, the show itself, I thought it was good. The matches were good. It was a really, really, solid and interesting base to build on for this year, as the shows recently have proved. I think, as Paul said before, and Matt and Chris as well have probably said, everything is done for a reason, and and for the long-term benefit of everyone. So I had no problem at all with the show. I thought it was really, really well done. So well done to you lot.
Yeah, I'll agree.
I think there was such a build-up to the show, and I think we gave ourselves that 4-week break or something over Christmas, and then with the whole JJ leaving stuff, we were kind of in a quandary as a creative team. We didn't know whether we should just continue with the booking as we discussed as the previous creative team, or should we kind of look at it as a chance to change some of the directions that were previously agreed. So we maybe got caught in a bit of limbo where some of the stuff we didn't really make a decision on. It just kind of got posted. But I think the delays didn't help. If the show had just been kind of posted as a whole, and people got the chance to read it, I think there was just a big gap between some of the posting, and that that affected it. I think that affected people's opinion on it.
Yeah, obviously, I think it worried a few people that had obviously been part of other things. But to be honest, it was an end of year show. It was well done. It's got plenty of stories to build from. In my mind, I think it was literally just the delay, which obviously worried a few people and they panicked on the feedback, etc. But you know, it was a good show. The first match was the Fatal 4-Way between Patel, James McManus, Perez and Cameron Faith. Very well written match. Cameron Faith won.
Well in, mate. Well in.
Yeah, I did notice something though.
Yeah.
I believe it was McManus kicked Patel in the gut to do his finisher. Yep, and then Patel, obviously, he's only been kicked in the gut. Cameron Faith super kicked McManus and covered him. But why did Patel not go for the pin? Break up the pin.
It was quite a heavy. It was quite a heavy kick to the gut.
It knocked him for six.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
Don't worry about the little details.
Just nitpicking here, Pete.
I'm sorry, I reread it yesterday and I just noticed it. It just stood out. I had to go there.
I mean, the match itself. I thought the match. It was a good opening to the show itself. Those four characters. I mean, I'm so chuffed. Jimbo's back on defense side of things because I think he's a cool guy and he's a good laugh as well, and he's a great promo. So it's good to have him back. It's a shame Cable's not around. I know his voice gives him a lot of praise and props, but yeah, no, I mean he's been around for a few years now, so he knows it as well. Liam with Perez again, trying to move away from that jokey sort of aspect.
Yep.
It'll be, as we've said before to Liam, it'll be tough to try and to do that because the way the character's been progressively built up to be this kind of like sex pest. But I mean it'll be cool to see how he does it. I mean, I personally am a big fan of the Bang Bus, and it does make me laugh and raise a bit of a smile. So
it's like an R-rated Adam Rose, isn't it?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, but I mean, it's he can build on it. He's good. He's really good. So go for it, mate.
Yeah, props to Liam there.
And Faith as well. I mean, Nay's been around for a few years now as well. So and I think he's asked me for a back and forth. So yeah, that'll be good fun because he's a cool dude as well. So yeah,
you need to get on that. Yeah, you definitely need to get on the back and forth, ready for the match at the next show.
Yeah,
I think in terms of that first match at New Dawn, it needed to tell a story because we knew what was coming next. In terms of the characters involved, so McManus is fairly new back to 6CW, so he's just trying to cement his place. Perez needs to show over time that he can kind of actually be a wrestler as opposed to this comedic character. You had Pital, who Cable did some good things when he first came in. He's gone a bit quiet at the moment, so we just need to kind of see if he's still around. I think it's his birthday this week, so maybe he might pop back after that.
Happy birthday, Cable.
So he's probably having some sexual chocolate somewhere.
Good man. Good man. Go for it, son.
So it was just about telling a story and having a solid opening because that kind of sets the tone for the rest of the pay-per-view.
Yep.
Yep.
The UK title match after that was obviously Chael Kingdom and Aaron Heath. I think we've discussed obviously Chael Kingdom not being active, so you wanted to give him a bit of time before you obviously took the title off him.
I think it told a better story the way that we've done it.
Yep.
And I think it's been more inclusive for more people.
Yeah.
So it's be able to create a feud involving multiple people rather than if we'd have maybe had Faith win it straight away, then that might have just closed it off to being a one-on-one with somebody else. So we made a decision that we'd keep it on Kingdom, and then we develop the feud moving forward.
No, I totally agree. I mean, I was reading the match and it was really cool. It was really good, and the way how it ended. I mean, I know a few people were a little bit sort of well, there should have been a clean ending, or something definite should have happened. But I think sometimes, as you said, it's always good to continue stuff. I had no issue at all with it. I thought it was brilliant. And as you said, it's cool, and it kept everyone in it, and it just goes to show as the shows have gone on, how that was sort of the very beginning of this sort of like chase to the UK title. It's pretty gnarly. It's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, and of course Cameron Faith broke up the pin, and then Patar came out. He needs to learn to come out and do that a bit more. Right, the Fatal 4-Way Tag match. Okay, first of all, I am sorry, guys. I wrote this match, and I was one of the reasons for the delay, because it was rewritten a bit. I believe, anyway. I don't know if that's the case, but I'm looking at it. I just think, yeah, it was.
I think in terms of delay, there was a lot of reasons why it happened. I was travelling a lot with work at the time, so I was kind of off radar, so I couldn't do anything about it. I was flying here and there. There was a few things that need to be rewritten. That matching, to be honest, it was minor stuff. I think it was just a few names here and there. There wasn't really any massive rewrites that needed to be made. I think that it was just kind of the timings, and people weren't very well. Matt wasn't well at a time, and kind of to the point where he just couldn't even get himself out of bed. So, it happens all the time. We'll just mark it down as a bad job, and hopefully we've moved on since then.
I mean, I like I say, I absolutely hated writing it, but I did say to Paul, right, just give me some matches. I don't care what they are. Paul said, do you like writing tag matches? I'll give it a go. You want me to do a Fatal 4-Way one, don't you? Yeah.
You stepped up to the mark, fella. I enjoyed it. You stepped up to the mark, so fair play.
But no, in terms of obviously my match writing, I know there's a lot of work to be done on it. But I'm hoping by the Extreme tournament that I'll be sort of doing it regularly and getting in front with them, etc. So yeah, I mean, the result, and obviously the fallout between Stevens and Okori, that is going to be a part of the Forgotten storyline. Paul, you can't obviously elaborate, that's fine, but where do you see it going, Ed?
Well, as we had the show this week, there was always some sort. I've always kind of had a sneaky feeling there's a lot of tension in the Forgotten. There's a lot of frustration, and it's not sexual. It's it's just there are a lot of there's a few guys in there who are they're trying to establish themselves, and if they're under this massive sort of umbrella of sort of dominance, they can't really do that. I mean, the way I see it, I think the show just gone. Just continue to emphasise Stevens and Okori just going, what, we can do this by ourselves, and they've been given the chance now, so it'll be interesting to see where it all leads to. I'm not sure who promos as Okori. I don't think I've met him or come across him yet, but Austin Stevens, he's the character's been around now for a while, and well, we all love a good foul mouth rant, don't we? So it's always cool to read those promos. It's going in a cool direction, definitely.
Yeah. Right. The next match. I don't know why it's in the middle of the pay-per-view, because it's the main event of the evening. Engel versus Cerberus.
It was a pretty tame affair from what I remember.
It was pretty lame. I mean,
no standout moments.
Irresistible Force versus Immovable Object.
I'm just glad Teresa didn't come out with a mini ladder.
Paul, master stroke getting Liam to write it. It was a well written match. Both guys look strong in it, in my opinion. And neither went for the pin during the match. The entire match there was no pinfalls, because obviously them two characters just wanted to go out there and just raise hell. I mean, would you agree on that, or?
Yeah, that was definitely a deliberate thing that Liam and I discussed it, and he said, well, I don't think that either of them would even attempt a pin. It wasn't about doing that. It was just trying to inflict as much pain on each other, and the fact that they both enjoy having pain inflicted on one another. That was the whole point, and that's why it ended the way they did, because it just came to a point where they just couldn't do any more.
Yep. I had a discussion with Darren about my promos after the Angle versus Cerberus match, because I thought that how Angle came across in the match was pretty much invincible, and after that I wanted to show, like, obviously with the interview segments, obviously I wrote the segment for the Aftermath show, but I also wrote the 2 promos before, and I wanted to show a bit more of a human, vulnerable side to Angle, if that got across a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to me, I thought Angle seemed, that hardcore match. I mean, as you guys have said, it was superbly written. They wanted to go absolutely wild, and I agree. It kind of, not in a bad way at all, but to me, it showed both of them to be, a little bit vulnerable, and I found that really cool, because, you associate these characters to be, these big bad monsters, and the match itself, it showed that they can be vulnerable, and your promos after, Pete, as well, for instance. I mean, I think Angle was still, he was busted, bleeding, whatever. He was in a bit of a state, and it really captured me, thinking, wow, he is human, and these characters doing all these, mad stuff. They do have a vulnerable side, and I think you've played on it very well as well. So yeah, it was cool, really good.
I think what resonated for me was the fear that Angle has that if he crosses that line, and he knows where that line is and what that leads to, where he'll end up back.
Mm.
And that's where, during that promo where he was back in the asylum for that short period, that's what he was scared of. He doesn't want to go there. He wants to be the other person. He wants to be the other Angle that he knows he can be, and he can be 6CW champion. And that's what he's doing. But he knows he needs to do something to get to that point, and that's maybe what he's doing now with Dicey and Cerberus, that he needs to get something off of his back to be able to make that next step.
Yeah. Then we've got, obviously, Thunder versus Crimey for the international title.
Oh, mate.
Everyone agreed with that ending, didn't they?
It was such a good decision. Everyone was,
everyone was happy about it. Yeah.
Is anyone questioning it now? That's
exactly.
the one.
No.
I mean, this to me. I mean, I read the match, and I thought, you know what, fair play, because Crimey, he's a good promo, and he's been around a long time. And I think everything, as I said before, everything's done on the side of creative, because it's done for a reason, long term. Everyone thinks, a few people, think that Thunder's going to go on and win the Gateway to Glory. Okay, so if he retains the title at New Dawn and then goes on to Gateway to Glory and wins the match itself, it just seems a bit, what's the point? Giving Crimey this title and knowing he'll do a good job with it, it's more than fine. And we always have a bit of a laugh and have a bit of a, oh well, here we go. But I didn't see a problem with it at all, and I think the match was good, and it just illustrates how strong the Forgotten were even more. So I had no problem with it at all.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit like Cena having the US title in WWE, isn't it? You've got it on a strong guy who promos well. Yeah. It just promotes that title a little bit and makes it more important for people. And
Absolutely,
I'm not saying, obviously, that Thunder having it was not doing that, but if you do go the route of Thunder going to the top, you do need to take that title off of him.
Yeah. Sure.
In terms of the storyline, Paul, obviously Crimey came to sort of take care of Thunder a little bit, but does, by him taking the title off of Thunder and Thunder moving on to Joshua, does that not give Jones exactly not what he wants at all?
It depends how much of a threat he thinks Thunder is in the long term. I think he wanted that belt off Thunder. That was the main reason for him bringing in, and he may not have realised what he was getting himself into when he actually ended up with it going to Crime Lord. But I think the problem with Jones is he thinks that he knows better than everyone, and he thinks that he can control every situation. So he doesn't actually consider that he'll ever not achieve what he wants. He doesn't think that he'll ever come out on the losing side. So if it meant that at some point Thunder progresses to facing Joshua, he is confident in the fact that Joshua's going to come out on the winning side because Jones is in control of him.
Yeah, can you understand? Obviously, we discussed that it was a controversial victory for Crimey. Can you understand, obviously, why at the time?
Yeah, I think so. Sorry, I'm just standing up at the same time. I think so. I think I can understand why people were kind of starting to question why we made the decision that we did. But Crime Lord is probably one of the best. Well, Crime is one of the best e-fedders that there have been over the last 5 years. You know, when he's able to promo, he's consistently one of the highest promos that there has been. So I had confidence in the fact that he'd be able to run with the storyline. The question was that obviously previously when he was Jax Cutler, he wasn't able to get on as much, and so he struggled to promo. So I can imagine that there would have been reservations as to whether or not that would have happened again. But we spoke to Crimey in great length. He's really, really keen to have come back to 6CW, and he really wanted to give this a good shot. And he was really, really humble by the fact that we'd chosen to give him the title off the belt. And it it wasn't done to try and put anyone's noses out of joint. It was genuinely because we thought that was the kind of storyline that we could really push on with, and I think that's shown now that with that friction between Jones and Crime Lord and the way that Thunder's moved on, it worked across the piece. Really, it moved on quite a few of the stories.
Yep. No, I can only add, and this is me speaking from sort of not a creative point. I reading the show, and the shows after. Sorry, it does show, if something is done for a reason, it is done for a really good reason, he's quality Crimey, so it's heading in a good direction, definitely.
Right, Paul, are you having to go soon, or?
No, I'm okay at the moment.
Okay, brilliant. Do you want to have a quick break, or shall we carry on?
I'm happy to carry on. That's okay.
Okay, Ed, maybe not all of the sponsors you acquired for us will get shown, but we'll get as many in as possible.
I feel offended. Jesus.
They're all recorded, mate. I'll get them in there somehow. I'll get them on the end. Or
next time, I'll someone else.
Right. Okay, so in the end, Crimey, great result for him. Obviously, the Forgotten interfered. And then it goes on to, obviously, we've got Tyson Armstrong and Jimmy Phillips versus Anthony Grace and Max Adamson.
The megastars, don't you mean?
They weren't the megastars when this was written.
But they weren't the megastars at the time, no.
No, but still,
they were megastars, but they weren't the megastars.
No.
Absolutely, there you go.
So, clean win for them, and basically 6CW versus the Forgotten in a sense, and 6CW won.
Yep.
Going back to obviously cracks forming in the Forgotten, do you think maybe Tyson Armstrong and Jimmy Phillips are starting to fall apart a little bit?
Well, I mean, they seem to be kind of like stuck in two minds, really. I think the character-wise, I think they're probably heading towards the Forgotten split, but I think they know they're smarter than they let on. I think they realise what's going on. They are I think they are fairly loyal to Big Jonesy. I think it's as long as they as Gazzy just keeps it up, it'll be fine. I mean, they're an interesting part of the Forgotten, and it's quite easy to forget about them sometimes. But it's worth remembering they're a big part of it. So yeah, it'll be cool to see what happens with them. In terms of Adamson and Grace, wow, I just literally I can't wait. Sometimes, you know, seeing those two guys, Marky and Darren, they're producing some quick, incredible stuff with it, and yeah, it reminds me a bit of in a weird way DX, the way it keeps going. So yeah, why not both? Why not both?
Mark is obviously posted in the Facebook chat, and I think on the 606 chat, about Engel versus Max Adamson. Obviously now with the megastars, that can't happen for a while. What do you think about that, Paul?
Never say never. So we could have Engel and Cerberus in a tag team, so they'll be the Mega Scars. And then we'd have there you go. I'll book it.
Yeah, but he could be a bit like Kane and Daniel Bryan, Team Hell No, wasn't it? Why not?
Yeah,
Go for it.
yeah. With was it Dr. Phillips, was it, or something?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. See, it writes itself. There you go.
Yeah. Then we've got an epic match, Dicey versus Liam Wood. We've talked about the feud. It's been brilliant, obviously, over a few months, how they've connected and how they've promoed.
Quick question: which one's the face and which one's the heel?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know. Paul, is Liam Wood ever going to turn?
Yes.
Well, you'd have to ask his girlfriend.
Oh, brilliant!
I think he is definitely heel. He's probably, in terms of heel wise, he's one of the biggest ones that we have in the company at the moment. He's just aligned himself with Jones, so he's obviously knows that they're both in the best interest of each other, that they can maybe get what the both of them want, so they've made that alignment. So he's done a deal with the devil, which is what he would never have done. That was kind of everything that he was against when he was the face. He's turned his ego up a notch to, you know, even more than he was when he was a face. So I think in terms of heel, he's definitely a heel.
Personally, having read that he'd joined Jones, I thought he was just a sleeper agent. I thought he was going to be like, pretend to be heel and then just suddenly be like, yo, I'm a face.
No, that could be it. That could be it. He could come out next week or after Red Gateway to go and go, ladies and gents, Liam Wood is back.
Obviously, Liam finally got his pay-per-view win. Was that what you wanted at New Dawn, or was that sort of something that you decided, you know, it needs to happen now, really?
Well, to be honest, the Liam Wood story is something that we mapped out for quite a long time.
Yeah.
So it has been going on since probably when we moved EWF and 6CW together. So he held 2 titles at the time. So he was stripped of one, and then he ended up losing the other one fairly quickly. And we thought, well, that's an interesting story to tell, and how can we kind of tell that slowly and then move it to a point kind of in the future, maybe like a year, 18 months in the future, where it kind of comes together again. And that's kind of where we are now, where we're kind of telling that story of how he comes back into the title picture, which obviously he's just done by beating Masters at the end of the last show.
Yeah. Very good ending. Liam Wood hit his finisher and Dicey went flying down 50 stairs. Is 50 stairs going to be the next crowd times 100?
Oh, brilliant. Well, I don't know. I don't think there could be anything better than crowd times 100 and that sort. Paul, what do you think?
I think it's interesting, because if it had been 49 stairs, apparently Dicey would have survived, but 50 was the limit that he couldn't.
Magic number.
Yeah, that's the magic number. 50 steps.
50 stairs hurt his knee.
Yeah.
Oh, brilliant.
Exactly. It's always stairs. It's his weakness. It gets him every time. But you know,
it's like Brock Lesnar and the steel steps.
People of a certain age, they have a problem with stairs, don't they? So you know.
Yeah. And then obviously we've got the triple threat match for the title: Joshua versus the Red Arrows. I wrote this match. not the strongest in my opinion, but I did look at it on the card and think all these matches before it are going to be epic. They're going to have, you know, a lot of big spots and things, and I thought maybe just write a classic fun little match with the dynamic of the Red Arrows obviously still being a team, working together a bit, and Joshua trying to sort of take each one out.
I quite enjoyed it, to be fair. When I was reading it, I thought it was a solid match. I thought for a split second, I thought maybe the Red Arrows might win it. But I had a sneaky feeling that Joshua was always going to walk away with it. It'll be interesting to see in the coming months how Chris manages to, promo as one or the other, depending on the situation. I also thought, that reminds me actually, I also thought that the match itself, we would see sort of an implosion of the Red Arrows, like a proper sort of like, they'd go nuts at each other, and then Josh would, pick off one. But no, it was a good match. I mean, it was good. I enjoyed it.
Paul?
Yeah, so we knew that we didn't want them to end as enemies, so we knew that there would be a parting of ways, but it was very much on each other's terms, so we didn't want to feud, we didn't want to do a Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty kind of situation. They're both fairly strong competitors in their own right, so we wanted them to kind of start fresh and then see what they can do in the singles ranks. We knew that Joshua had to end the pay-per-view winning, but not necessarily looking strong, because he needed help. And it's something that Darren has kind of picked up on, that he'd almost gone soft. So was that because McCoy has gone? Is that because he's aligned himself with Jones? So there's a few things to consider. What is it that's caused Joshua to kind of lose his edge, and what does he do to try and get it back? What's going to happen now with Joshua? Is he going to go? Is he just going to lose it completely and he's just not going to be the man he was before, or is he going to go to the other extreme and is he going to take it out on someone?
I think in regards to that, I think I can definitely see something happening, either Joshua with Jones or Jones flinging out Joshua, but it'll be interesting to see how it goes down, definitely.
Okay, and then obviously the second main event of the evening, we had Mike Masters versus Keith Leone. I've got a bit of a bugbear, and I only noticed it when I read Keith Leone as I was writing out my notes. When I used to go to school, they used to teach you a poem: I before E, except after C. Yeah?
Yep.
Now, everybody who is in power in the country, everybody has been through school and learnt that rhyme. But Keith is not. Keith is EI, yeah? So, I before E, except after C, unless your name's fucking Keith.
or Roman Reigns.
Yeah.
Good old Roman Reigns. He's a fun guy, isn't he, Pete?
It's another reason to hate Roman Reigns. He's just ruining the English language for us.
Yeah.
Not only is he ruining WWE, he's ruining the English language.
So I actually Wikipedia'd I before E, and the actual rhyme is I before E except after C, unless it sounds like A. So Reigns, neighbour, things like that. Obviously EI. But I think we should really petition for I before E except after C, unless it sounds like A or your name is Keith, because it rhymes a little bit.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
It's like the other one, 30 days off September, April, June and November, all the rest are 31 except February. It don't rhyme.
It's one of those rhymes that people know up to a certain point, and then they get to except February, and then they just kind of tail off at the end because they don't remember it. So maybe that's what it is. I before E except after C, except just finishes.
Yeah.
You'll actually find, to be kind of a geek, if you look it up, there's actually more examples where it's not I before E than there are where it is I before E.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I didn't go to school in in the Stone Age, so I don't know.
It's like the three R's. The three R's: reading, writing, arithmetic. Reading spelt with an R. Writing is with a W. And arithmetic is arithmetic.
Is that what get to ours is? Is that get to ours as in get to reading, writing, arithmetic?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you do your 2 times tables, gents. You know, it's
See,
right.
you're trying
Yeah,
to teach us. We didn't even
See,
realise.
I've said I'm the Oracle before, so I don't know why you guys doubt that now. I'm only winding you up.
Epic finish. Obviously, it showed that the Forgotten can be hurt, and Keith Lee getting the win. What did you think of the match, Ed?
Yeah, no, it was cool. It was really good. I'm pleased that Leone won because it was coming, and CJ, you know, he's been there before, and he can take it to another level that he's done in the past. I really like seeing Leone involved in these sort of storylines because you know you're going to get quality each time. And I can remember when, you know, a few years back, I think he had this rivalry with, it was Dicey, sorry, and it was massive, and it was just such a big storyline. And Keith at the time, he was a heel at the time, and he wasn't a face. He was a heel, and he and Dicey had this massive feud, and that's why I drew similarities between the Wood feud with Dicey, the same as Leone. It was really cool, and and it just shows that CJ can take things to another level, which he has done. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Masters reacts because he hasn't had the best of times in recent weeks. So it'll be cool to see.
Right, Paul, are you able to do the Ask the Host section? Or would you need to go?
No, I should be okay. If my wife appears again, then I might get told to leave. But,
right, okay. If we have a quick break then.
Awesome.
And then we'll go on to that section. And then once you've gone, Paul, me and Ed will talk about what's happening now. Because I think obviously you can't really talk about that as much as me and Ed could.
No, probably not. In terms of what's the host then, is it just you just want to ask a few questions? Like I put on thingy.
Yeah, basically, you guys think of some questions, ask them me, and I'll answer them. Just put me on the spot and just take over the show for a 10, 15 minute, whatever.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah, okay. Right then, guys. I'll see you after the break. Bored of your voicemail tone? Bored of your ringtones? Do your friends have better ringtones than you? Well, not anymore. Introducing for a brief time only, Cables. Cables is an application on your phone, which once downloaded will set your ringtone, voicemail, and social media ring all to the soothing voice of American males from all of the different states, including Virginia, Alabama, Texas, and Washington. Pre-order now from all good retailers. Cables. For when you need to be best at everything, use Cables. Hello and welcome to the 6CW Legacy podcast. We are just about to start the Ask the Host section, where basically the guests take over the show for a little while and just ask me a few questions. Ed, before we start, can you finish this headline for me?
Yeah, mate, go.
Hulk Hogan is a racist, but...
Brooke Hogan is fit as fuck. Yeah, I think everyone can agree to that. I think Matt Evans in particular will back me up as being, you know, as the guy we always have a good old chat about. Or is it Laura Whitmore? Laura Whitmore, isn't it? Yeah. And we could go on forever if you wanted to.
Yep.
Is that an acceptable counter argument though? Is it? He's kind of racist, but he's got a really good looking daughter. All right then, yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, it papers over the cracks a bit, doesn't it?
How far can he get away with it though? What, you know, where's the line? Where, you know, at what point does he cross it? Where having a hot daughter doesn't really get you away with it anymore? Oh, he's kind of murdered someone. Yeah, but he's got a hot daughter.
Yeah, it's kind of a grey area, isn't it? I'm not sure how he could kind of take this. I mean, nah, he's an interesting dude, isn't he? But I mean, I swear Vince said something similar at one of the WWE show once. He said something to John Cena. I can't remember when it was, but it's funny. It's mad. I think poor old Hulk.
Is that the Booker T thing?
Yeah, the Booker T thing. That's the one. Yeah. So I think, and even with it's mad. It's crazy.
Hulk Hogan is a racist, but he's a real American, and he would be a better president than Donald Trump.
And he fights for rights.
Yeah, he fights for your rights.
To be honest, being a real American probably means that you are racist. Probably when it comes down to it, that's it's part of their when they have to salute the flag.
Well, I just hope Cable's not listening to this. We might have just lost a member.
Right, guys. It's your turn now to basically just ask me anything you want to ask. I know you've got some questions that you posted on Facebook. Are they still available on? Have you written them down or anything?
I've remembered them in my head.
Okay, that's fine. Ed, what about you? Have you remembered yours?
Yeah, I've got one or two questions, mate.
Okay, sound. Okay, who wants to start?
Do you want me to go first?
Go on then.
I've got a few that are specifically for Peter, because obviously, but Ed, you might be able to answer some of them as well. So, firstly, for Peter, I've heard the story of why you left originally, but I don't think I've heard about why you came back, or what was it that drew you in? Was there a particular thing that was happening in 6CW you thought, well, I think I've really missed this, and it's time I got back into it?
You know what? I loved 6CW, and obviously there were reasons, some of them personal, some of them creative differences, but I went on 606. I just randomly thought, I'll go on there. I think I was looking for some football or something, and 6CW was still running. I clicked on it, and I was like, yeah, I need a release. I like that creative release it gives me. Because my mind sometimes it runs overdrive. I've got work all the time, and sometimes I just like that release, and that is what 6CW gives for me. So yeah, in terms of why I came back, it was just the fact that I missed it, to be fair.
How does 6CW now compare to the 6CW you remember?
Oh, it's so much better. Back then we had the 6CW site, and it was also running on 606, the original 606 when I first started. And you'd be sort of looking at the shows on the 6CW website and looking at people and thinking, well, they never promo, and there was that sort of disconnect because you had some people promoing on one site, some people promoing on the other. The site started to die, and I don't think personally there was that much going into how well someone was promoing, and I did try and push for it because I felt that if you promoed well, you should be going up the card. If you promo badly or you didn't promo, not that you should come down the card, but that you should have to try and up your game a little bit. And I think people were getting title runs and people were going to big storylines just for the sake of people that were writing at the time wanting that as their story.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. I'd agree with you that at the time. I think back then there were maybe quite a few times where they would decide that there was a certain story they were going to run with, and they just ran with it. It didn't really matter what was happening in terms of promos and stuff.
Yep.
They'd already decided on the end point. Yep. So they were going to get there no matter what.
I mean, I know you guys, you've got like a 3-month plan. I believe that. I read that on Ask the Boss when it was JJ. But I believe that is obviously still the case. Am I right? Or
we've got 3 months of cards, like pay-per-view cards that we have in mind.
Yeah.
We've got an overarching story that probably progresses a little bit more than the 3 months.
Yeah.
But there are details that can be flexible and things that we can change around, so we're not tied into stuff.
Yeah.
There's little bits and pieces that are massive payoffs, and I would hate to think that we'd have to deviate from that.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that we wouldn't. If I wouldn't
If
just continue.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's what I have noticed. I do think you are flexible. I mean, when I read, obviously, you got a 3-month plan, I thought to myself, so I'm going to have to promote as Angle for 3 months before I get involved in anything major. But, obviously, what I've got involved in now is a big storyline. And I'm excited for, obviously, how that goes and where Angle goes from there.
I think I don't want to give spoilers away, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised by how this feud develops.
Yeah.
I think there may be things that happen that hopefully that people haven't seen coming. So I think watch this space on that one. It's not going to be as clear cut as maybe people think it's going to be.
Okay. Anyway, go on, Paul. Any more?
Who is the best promoter you've ever worked with? Kind of been involved with? Who you've ever seen?
Will this get me a title shot?
It depends on the answer.
Lex Hart.
There you go. See, you're on to it now.
Ed's tried that one for years. It doesn't go anywhere.
Trust me, you should see Paul's inbox. It is literally urgent PM, urgent PM, urgent PM every single time, and every single time he's replied and gone, "It's coming, don't worry. It's coming, don't worry." So, well, Dob still owes me a title shot anyway. So,
yeah, I think that's a guaranteed title shot, and Paul, I think you should honour that at some point.
I think you're confusing things, Ed. What happened is you keep hitting my inbox, and I keep saying, "I'm coming, I'm coming." That's what's happening.
No, to be fair,
right.
to be fair, Ed makes a good point. He says he got offered a title shot by Dubs. I was offered things back then, and now looking back, I wish I hadn't, because it changed my view on things a little bit. As I say, obviously with regards to how good your promo, because if you start getting offered things, you are going to get lazy with your promos. And I think it is good to be able to have that interaction with your bosses that are running the show, but I do think there has to be a line where you say, right, okay, you can't really ask us for a title shot, you can't really ask us for a push, you've got to work for it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, I've never, like, all joking aside, I've never gone up to somebody and gone, "Oh, you should be doing this, blah 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 blah."
Yeah.
It's not my call at the end of the day.
No.
I've always, like you, Pete, I've always believed, if you put the time and effort in, you will be rewarded. It is just quite funny just to have a bit of a wind up, isn't it? Though it's all good banter. All good banter.
Yep.
I don't think I've ever promised anyone a title shot, or I've always said, we've got good things in mind. I've discussed possible ways that we can move with characters and potential feuds. I don't think it's right, like you said, Pete, to promise people certain things, because they could get lazy, and I like the element of surprise. I like the fact that when Joshua won the title and had his Night of Glory main event kind of moment, that was a massive surprise. Darren did not expect that at all.
No.
I like those kind of things to happen. So when things happen like that, you just don't see it coming.
Okay. Going back to the actual question, I think probably the first opponent I had was Joe Frazier. I don't know if you remember him. I don't actually know if he stuck around that long.
That was JJ.
Yes, I thought it was, but I didn't ask him. I never asked him. Right.
He stuck around for a while, didn't he?
Yeah,
just a bit.
I can't remember. He had
Right.
Yeah, I think Frazier was definitely JJ.
Yeah.
There's a reoccurring theme, with some of them that you might see that, they were JJ over time. But yeah, I'm pretty sure that Frazier was one of JJ's.
Yep.
Either that or it was Marky.
Yep, Marky Rutherford, you absolute legend.
But when I first joined 6CW, I didn't know how to go on, so I literally started a promo, and Joe had just started, JJ had just started that character, and I thought, you know what, I'm just starting, he's just starting, I'm just going to shove myself in his face. And I started sort of like a stalker storyline, and there wasn't a massive payoff to it. I think we had Engels Engels Aftermath or whatever it was at the time, where he ended up in a steel cage and getting electrocuted and beaten by Patient X. I don't think the
Good time.
That was me.
but yeah, I think that was my favourite because it was my first. At the moment, I'm really enjoying what I'm doing with Cerberus, and I'm hoping that what happens with Dicey as well will make that even better. Moving on, next question.
Well, I was going to ask the same of Ed. So
Okay.
who does he think is the best ever? And this can be across 6WF as well, because with people like Demon and those who are across there.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is me being, you know, and I'm that sort of person. I can honestly say, I've always kind of thought that the promos who have won titles, you know, been in that sort of spotlight and can hold it for the longest, they're the best ones. And I always like to think that, you know, in different times, whoever's holding the titles on shows are the ones the rest should strive for. And I know that sounds really cliched and really sort of like, you know, boring stuff, but it is true. The guys that hold the titles are the ones that have proven that they can, you know, take it to that next level, and it's up to everyone else to try and top it. I mean, if you had to ask me, probably the best promo that I've come across and had, well, actually, I never really promoted with him was JJ. I mean, you know, when I first came along on the scene, you know, five years ago or so, he was the one that was, you know, I would read the shows, the cards, and see the people's promos, and his one would always stand out because it kind of inspired me to go that extra step within promos. And there's an interesting article actually on the old 6CW site, and I think it could have been Hero actually. He posted it, and this article it's not directly about e-fame, but it's about wrestling as such, and it says in detail how you should sort of stage your promos, so how you kind of go about doing it, so you know you don't do anything stupid, you don't call people dick face or something ridiculous like that, you know, but it's simple things like that, and in that extra detail, like saying what they wear, how they're looking, how they're feeling, their environment, it immerses the people reading it, and I firmly believe that promos, they can be won and lost within the first two lines because you can easily lose interest, and I think JJ had it ace from day one, and I think other people such as Marky, and well even Crimey, people like that, they do that, like the extra mile, and it is rewarding, and it engages you instantly. But yeah, JJ he's top definitely in my book. I could be wrong, but
I think that's firmly agreed on then.
Yeah.
Paul, next question, if you've got one.
Do you have have you got a bucket list in terms of EFED? So things that you'd like to do before you stopped.
This is to both of us, isn't it?
Yeah.
Personally, I think I'd like to run again at some point, or be a part of a creative team. Not necessarily here. If ever, obviously, 6CW ended, I would probably think about doing my own. I'd like to maybe do something other than Engel. Not right now, but in the near future, and probably have Engel and this other guy running at the same time. But no, I mean, I'm not one of these that's going to say, you know what, I want to have this, I want to have that, title wise or storyline wise. But in terms of actual what he fed in, I think running one and you know, just being that side of things again, I do want to do that at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of a bucket list, I think over the years I've been so fortunate and lucky to be part of a whole lot of different stuff and picked up a few titles on the way, and it's cool. I mean, I think I like Peter. I would love to take the reins of something. Which, to be fair, with the help of Paul Derbyshire and Liam Woods, obviously 6CW Uncovered is sort of is going to be a new little side story. Not taking anything from the show, as I said to Paul before, but just a different edge to it. And that will get sorted. Trust me. I know I'm being a bit lazy, but I will sort it. Don't worry, lads. But I mean, I think in terms of another bucket list, I think just carry on enjoying myself. I'm not one of those that just seeks titles and storylines. It's all just a big good fun, really. And I enjoy it still after all these years. So here's to another 5.
Yeah.
I think it's nice that, because for a while, and I'm not pointing fingers at anyone or anything in particular, but it was almost, e-fedding became almost a dirty word, and any conversation that was had wasn't really focused on what we were doing within e-fed. Everyone just wanted to have a chat and kind of talk about football and stuff like that, whereas now we're having that chat, but we're also kind of talking as a group about what's happening within the e-fed, and I think that makes a massive difference into people's enjoyment in terms of what they want to get out of it. And it's like you said, it's not so much about am I winning a title, am I involved in storylines. It's just that everyone's just really enjoying being part of this.
That's the thing, and I think I'm probably guilty of not talking as much on V2, but I mean with the Facebook group chat, I think it's just such a perfect blend of just we have a laugh and we talk about what's been going on, and it's in such approachable, and no one really what I find is that no one shoots anyone down, whereas in the past maybe you might get shot down and and that would detract from the conversation itself, whereas now I think we get on so well, like we'll say an idea and we'll talk about it, but then have a bit of a laugh about it, and no one would be find it offended or get arsy about it. So I think in that way, as Paul says, is absolutely right, definitely.
Yeah, I agree, mate.
Yep.
It's good that there's so many people involved. I'm just going to advertise the behind the curtain thing. We are looking for obviously user created content so that expands over time, because it's not fair for creative to have to write the shows, look at all the promos, and then start doing extra things as well, when there's some of us that have got that creative itch, we want to do it. We should all just get together and plan some stuff. I mean, I've got something planned at the minute, which I think I've sent a picture on Skype over to you guys. Courtesy of Liam Wood, by the way.
Legend.
Yeah. Which is Johnny and Mickey's Highway to Hell. Which is going to be kind of like a comedy thing. And I think me and you have spoke about it a bit, Ed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the intern as well will be part of the ride.
Yeah, and it's exciting to be able to say, right, we have got 6CW, we've got the shows, we've got the pay-per-views, but we've also got this.
Yeah.
Anyway, I know you've got a few more questions for me, Paul.
Have I? I'm trying to remember them now.
Okay.
They may have all fallen out of my head.
Do you want me to hijack it for you?
Do you want to prompt me?
You've got, what are the biggest changes to e-fedding?
Yeah, because I thought,
yeah.
What's the difference? Yeah, how would you compare 6CW then between now? Yeah, but yeah, what are the biggest changes in e-fedding that you've noticed over the years?
I think I briefly covered it in the previous podcast, that when I first got into e-fedding, a lot of it was you had stats and things like that. It were all dice rolls, and it just didn't interest me because it was just in your face. And when I started the EWF, I wanted to move away from that, and we still had like the odd sort of stat thing, but we didn't use that to judge the shows, we went on to promos, and then obviously as I've come into 6CW, I've noticed what can happen, and I've been looking at other EFED, not to take part, just to see what they are doing. And nowadays I think there's a lack of creativity elsewhere. I think a lot of people are going with, let's do Raw how we want to do it, let's do the WWE, and they're being right, okay, I'll be Brock Lesnar, you can be Roman Reigns, and they're promoing as them characters. And yeah, okay, there is a market for that, but you know, not everybody wants to do that. They want to create their own thing, and that's what we're doing at 6CW, and that is, in my opinion, how it should move forward. Because I could never get myself interested in, like, it's basically be the booker, isn't it, at the end of the day? Except that you've got loads of different guys writing promos.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And the more we can make it into a kind of 6CW universe, and you've got that user created content, and you've just got more and more stuff that people can get involved in, even if they're not responding to it and giving feedback on it, it's just stuff that they can read, and it just kind of envelops them more into the 6CW world, then I'm all for it. And you know, the more the merrier.
Yep. And you also asked on Facebook, do I have a list of do's and don'ts when promoing? I think that's covered in the getting started section very well by JJ, but I think you've got to emphasise that when you're doing a promo, you're writing for yourself, and if you've got an opponent, it's not your job to basically make them look weak. It's your job to tell a story, and for them to then respond in whatever way they want to do. And I think you've got to sort of not necessarily reach out for the brass ring, work for that brass ring to come to you. Do you know what I mean?
No, I agree. People who deserve it will rise to the top over time. You know, you haven't got to keep pushing and pushing and pushing, because we see it and we know that the top promos will get what they deserve. In terms of do's and don'ts, I agree. You should never try and just bury your opponent. It doesn't look good for them, and it definitely doesn't look good for you if you're just going out there and you're just trying to make yourself look the strongest person in the world, and it just makes you just kind of crap all over the back and forth. The longevity of an EFED character is down to the flaws that they have and being able to develop them and accept that they're part of the character, and then that can tell a better story throughout the years.
Yeah.
If you're just pushing yourself as like a strong guy, a Superman, a Roman Reigns,
Mark Matsko.
Yeah, if you're coming out with a grenade launcher, then you know that's not effective to us. It doesn't help your opponent. You're not going to get a push. I'm not going to allow somebody to come down the ring with C4 and whatever else he brought down with him.
I remember. I don't want to obviously slate anybody, but I do remember one time I was covering for Dubs, who was on holiday, and obviously we said any messages about the show, send them to Pete and he'll sort them out. So open my inbox, first thing, Mark Matsko, I have got the greatest idea ever. Okay, what is it? I'm going to steal everybody's finisher and I'm going to use them in promos.
We need him back, don't we?
And
oh man.
And with him, I was actually trying to give him feedback on what I call God emoting, and basically what that is where you go out there and you, in spite of whoever's out there with you, you just do what you want. So you can basically go out and hit people. You can do a finisher on them, and you make them look weaker and weaker and weaker by doing that. And I think you have to go to your opponent and say, right, can I do this? And if they say no, then you don't do it. And it's things like that which obviously make your promo stand out. If you actually go out and you have some interaction with your opponent outside of the promo and say, right, this is what I want to do, can we do this, can we do that, it makes a very good back and forth. in my eyes.
Yeah, completely agree.
And I think if you're reaching for the top, you know, you've got to look at who's at the top and think, right, I need to ask them for advice.
No, definitely. I think it's definitely discussing it with the other people, working out the story. Or you could go the other way and just promo on a Sunday and not let anyone else respond.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to go. Just chilling out on a Sunday. Yeah, why not? Why not?
I've just thought of another question that I didn't write down.
Okay.
I did kind of pose, but I've just thought of a different way to ask it.
Okay.
So for the both of you, so how would you rate yourself out of 10 in terms of e-Feder?
Brilliant.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there isn't a 10 out of 10. There never can be.
Well, I've got a second part to the question, so we'll see how you go. But yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna say I'm probably a 7, maybe a 6.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, since I'm Ed Kent, I'm not gonna give myself a 9. I'm gonna say, yeah, I probably agree with Pete. 6 or a 7. Yep.
Okay, and you've both given yourself similar scores. So what's your weaknesses, and why do you only give yourself a 6 or a 7?
I think for me personally, as you said, and you know, I can take the lashings from people and all sorts. I think I'm probably, in terms of doing back and forth. So I haven't done a back and forth for a long time. And I think if I did more of those, then perhaps I could probably become an even better promo than I already am. I think I would like to do more back and forth with people. I think sometimes they're not possible to do with how the storylines go, so people might not be around. But I think when I have done back and forth with people, it's been good fun. So I'd like to do more. And yeah, I mean, I think, maybe not promoing on Sunday evenings. Maybe I need to get a life.
Do it on a Saturday.
Yeah, do it on Saturday night. Yeah.
They've got a whole 24 hours then, Paul. You've got to give them that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, I'll cut him some slack.
Maybe I'll be a 10 then.
Okay, with me, I think I do sometimes lack a bit of substance in my promos. Like, for example, in terms of like describing things, because I've never been very good at it. Because when I'm writing it, it bores me to write it, so I think it bores people to read it. And I think to myself, well, I'm in a wrestling ring, and we're all wrestling fans, so we all know what one looks like, so I don't bother, if you know what I mean. And sometimes I think I like that, and when I'm doing a back and forth, sometimes I don't necessarily reply in character, sometimes I reply in defence of my character.
Yeah, I think that's probably, we can all say that sometimes, that we don't, and normally that's when we reply quite hastily, because we feel the need to defend our character rather than taking the time and maybe putting together a response as our characters. No, that's fair.
Yeah, I mean, when Lex Hart and Angle were getting it on, when Lex Hart was Genesis and I was Team 6CW, I did sort of think, he just called me Bobo or Bozo or whatever it was, and I was like, no, I'm getting in there.
The way I approach a Lex promo, or the way I did in the past, he's just, nothing like the man he used to be now. But I used to deliberately do whatever I could to get under the skin of the person that I was promoing against.
Yep.
And so I could provoke a reaction. And the more angry the other person got, then that is exactly what I wanted. So that is why I kind of chose that line to go down. I thought that might get under your skin. So I went with it. Obviously, I'm older and I'm wiser now, and I wouldn't do that kind of a thing.
Paul and I cut from the same cloth here.
Maybe Lex Hart and Angle could have the rematch that never was at some point.
I think there will be a time when Lex needs to leave this place, and I think there'll be a lot of people queuing up to be the person that gets rid of him.
So
we'll have to see.
That will be a Kenty versus Lex.
Well, we'll have to see. It may
Did I ever mention that Lex Hart is the greatest promo I have ever met in my life?
See, no. The plan is that the Kenny Dark match will happen, and then the main event will be Angle versus Lex. So yeah, book it.
Okay, well, before I go, because I'm going to have to dash off now, but there was a second part to that question. So I saw where you rated yourselves, and we discussed about your weaknesses. Who on the roster now, and I only want a name, who on the roster now do you think is the closest we've got to a 10?
Wow.
Can I go?
Yep.
Yeah, go on.
Joshua.
Yep. In terms of people, I'm going to say... I'm going to go with Liam. Yeah, I'm going to go with Liam.
Yeah.
Purely because, and this is not me, I'm being deadly serious here. I think the way Liam has taken his character, and we all have a laugh about face heel turns, whatever. I've said it before. He has done an absolutely brilliant job, and it's very cool, really cool, and I'm chuffed. It's paying off now.
Right, Paul. You've got to go, dude.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
and I'm more than happy to do this again in the future.
Yeah, brilliant.
Good to ours anytime, Paul.
Yeah, I've enjoyed having you on the show, mate, and it'd be good to have you back on at another time. Obviously, we can't talk about spoilers and things like that. Liam wanted me to grill you before you went, but I can't. It's not fair.
I'm sure he'll PM me.
Is what's happening with Liam Wood in the future? Come on. No.
Heel turn.
But no. Okay. Me and Ed are gonna just chat some shit for the next half an hour or so, and then that'll be it. So, Paul, thank you for coming on the show.
No worries.
Cheers, Paul. Cheers. See ya. Bye, mate.
See you later, dude. Alright then, Ed.
And then there were two. Wow.
It's ideal because I think that was his last question, so it's now you versus me.
The pressure, man. The pressure. I've got a few questions. I won't go on too long.
No, Ed, it's fine, honestly.
One of my questions to you is, did you ever think that coming back to 6CW will be such a smooth transition for you? I know characters have come back and struggled a little bit, but you seem to have just gone, see you later, guys. You've done a great job. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I look at it this way. I think when I first came back, basically when I left, I just disappeared. You know that thing that Paul hates? I actually just disappeared. So coming back, I was a bit nervous about how things would go, and I asked JJ beforehand, "Is it okay if I come back?" And he said yeah. And I cut my first promo, and I cut it in the wrong section, if you remember.
Yep.
And
rookie mistake.
And
what's going on, Chief?
First thing that happened in Facebook chat, who is this Angle guy? Has he got a time traveling gimmick? And I was like, oh god.
Welcome to the Lions then.
Yeah. But then, obviously, with how welcoming it's been, and obviously people have spoke to me on Facebook chat and things, and we've all had our little chats, and it's gone really well, and I've enjoyed it. I didn't expect it to go that way, because obviously Angle is somebody that I have not written about for a long time, but it just came back to me, and it just flows. And sometimes I need to stop myself and put a filter, because I can go on and on with Angle.
Well, I mean, I've always, and this is not me, saying to you or anyone, I've always enjoyed when people, have a lot to say, because it shows that they're willing to go in depth about it. I've always thought that, I read the same article I mentioned earlier, actually, the article that was written, it said, if your promo is aiming for, at least 1,500 words to 2,000, you're in a brilliant zone. So I mean, I'm all up for more detail. So mate, if you're thinking about a filter, do not put it on, fella, because you're doing a cracking job. No, I'm being deadly serious, man. Deadly serious.
Okay. Next question.
Oh god, it just slipped out of my head. Oh Christ. No, I got it. Okay. Out of anyone on the roster? Is there anyone that you haven't feuded yet with? And is there anyone that you would want to, in a year's time or so?
Well, to be honest with you, Ed, I actually haven't feuded with that many people.
Okay.
So it is actually quite surprising. I've been here, then I've gone, then I've come back, and I've started a feud or started a storyline, and then nothing's happened from that. So, there's a massive list. I'd probably like to. I've always said I'd like to feud with Dicey. That's happening now. So that is there. I'd say Joshua.
Okay.
And not necessarily for the title, but come on, I need it.
Well, no, I can see it working in the same way that I see, Joshua is such a unique character in the way that I know it's nothing like Undertaker, but it shows some similarities, and I think if there was an opponent that he could face, Angle would be right there, purely because, well, Angle's sort of the, how can I put this? He's sort of like one of these characters that is such a, it's unpredictable, and he's one of the opponents that wants pain in a bizarre and weird way,
Yeah.
And I think and I think the character and yourself as a promo could really feed off that. So if it happens, I'll be stoked. So
well, I think if you look at classic WWE, WF sort of back when Undertaker was basically taking on Monster of the Week every pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Mankind, Angle is very much like Mankind. Which is what I aim for. He is one of the people that I sort of like admire as a promoer.
Sure.
But yeah, I think Joshua definitely, and I don't know. Aaron Heath, obviously.
Oh, everyone, God, what is it? Everyone wants a piece of Heathy, don't they? Oh, no.
Anyway, next question.
Mine. Oh boy, what's the other one I was going to ask you? Okay, who on the roster do you think is almost in a position that if they were called up to the title picture after, obviously, would... Oh no, forget that question, my bad. Who can you see winning the Gateway to Glory?
I think the way things are at the minute, it's gonna be Thunder.
Really?
I think that's how the storyline is heading.
See, I understand where people are coming from when they say Thunder, but I've got a sneaky feeling that Big Gareth, he's keeping very quiet about it. So I got a sneaky feeling that Gazzy could come back.
Gazzy D.
Yeah, not that I wouldn't want Thunder to win because I think he's done a good job. I just think that I don't know. I mean, do you see Thunder going on to face a Joshua or even Liam Wood, for instance, or?
I think I'd prefer to see Thunder take on Liam Wood.
Okay.
I think you could either really cement Liam Wood as the heel by having him beat Thunder, or you could have Thunder cement himself as the next guy.
Yes.
It
makes sense. It does.
It does make sense in terms of the storyline, and it does. I don't know who I'd personally want to win it, but I think that's where the storyline's going.
Fair play.
Did you have a... Hang on. You had a question for me that you posted on Facebook about Angle and the title picture.
Oh yeah. I think it wasn't it asking you do you see Angle? How would you see Angle in the title picture? How would you see him being portrayed as a champion? Would you see him as one of these typical sort of arrogant champions, or a cowardly champion, or how would you see him?
I think the minute that you give Engel the title is the minute he's got that power that he's always wanted in 6CW, because he's always wanted to create that chaos and that anarchy. And we've seen it occasionally, like when he ran that show. But putting something on him that says he's the man to beat, he's got that power then.
Yeah.
And it'd probably cause a bit of a struggle between obviously the board and 6CW without actually creating a versus storyline. And I think that would be an interesting concept to go with. I think Engel with that spot is like I said to you yesterday, I think he's a lethal weapon.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep. In terms of his character, he's never played as a coward. He's always been that guy that's stands up to it and he can take a beating. It depends really on where they want to go, whether they want to keep him sort of tweener or they want to go face or heel. If they go face, he's not going to be a classic face. He's going to be a bit twisted, so he's going to end up being a tweener anyway. But if you go heel, then I think he would be the monster heel that no one can put down for a while.
Fair play. Nice, cool. I look forward to this monster. Definitely.
Yeah. Right. Have you got any other questions for me, Ed?
I think I'm going to be boring, Chief, and say no, I don't.
No, that's fine, my friend. Shall we talk about what's happening right now?
Yeah, go on then, why not? Yeah, why not?
Okay, well, first of all, what we've just been talking about, Joshua and Thunder.
Well, I think Joshua and Thunder, it's an interesting story. I think it's going to build up to obviously the next pay-per-view. If Thunder does win the Gateway to Glory, I see it. I definitely, if Thunder does win the match, I do agree. I can see him face Liam, so that's somewhere along the line. And as you said, it would be such a cool, unpredictable main event. But for the time being, I think a Joshua Thunder little feud, just to keep everything ticking over, looks good, definitely.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Like I say, I think Thunder Liam Wood would be a better match.
Yep.
Joshua, I kind of want to see Joshua and Jones implode. And I don't necessarily want a face to go up against Joshua at Night of Glory, win, Monster's been defeated. Maybe I want to see a different dynamic where they both, him and Jones, implode. Jones starts putting people in his face, and you can then have it however you want it to play out.
Yeah, no, I agree, definitely. It's bound to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to have the predictable.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Okay, and what about Liam Wood? I mean, he's stepped up.
Yeah, big time.
Beat Dicey, and he's moved on. He's going for the EWF title.
Yep.
I still can't figure out, is he a face or a heel?
No, neither can I. Funny that. It's weird, isn't it? I warm to him. I warm. He is very, very lovable, isn't he?
Yeah, we should have a drinking game for the podcast based on Liam Wood jokes.
Well, it just goes on, doesn't it?
Yeah. But no. On a serious note, he is a heel. You can tell he's a heel.
Definitely. Yeah. No, I mean, I think it's pretty certain that he will win the EWF title, and I'll be so chuffed. It'll be wicked.
Yeah.
When it's a case of when he does rather than if. I would like personally, as we said before, a Thunder Wood match at Night of Glory purely because it's unpredictable and who knows what could happen. I would like to see him win the title soon, but it'll be interesting how it plays out because obviously Keith just won the title, so if they did do a quick switch over, there would have to be some kind of long-term payoff for either Keith or obviously Liam. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see, definitely.
Yep. What about the big storyline? The only one that's really important right
The
now.
one that I wanted to talk about the entire night. Bring it on.
Cerberus, Dicey, and Engel.
Oh, mate, I tell you what, it is, and it may be serious. Like, you three guys are gonna. There's gonna be some pretty nice stuff going on. I can tell. I mean, it's they're three very unique but eerily similar characters in the way that they love just carnage, don't they? They love mayhem.
They do.
And I think it will be such a cool and wild thing. So bring it on.
And
Definitely.
I noticed that Paul was a little bit coy when I said about a triple threat.
Yeah. No.
Do we think the triple threat is happening, or do we think he's got other ideas for it?
I think it's going to happen. No, it will happen. I can see if Dicey is involved, then, and if it happens early, then I can definitely see Engel, or Engel and Cerberus, if they do sort of form some sort of weird alliance, almost stalking Dicey, leading up to a Night of Glory where Dicey finds his redemption. So it'll be interesting to see how the storyline progresses in a way. Definitely.
Who out of the three benefits from the Extreme title?
Currently or later on?
As the story progresses, who do you think will benefit the most?
I'd probably say Engel, because it would show that obviously Engel's back in the game, and he has won a title in not long at all.
Ever feel like you're just one of the crowd? You feel that everybody ignores you and that you're just floating around with life? Well, not anymore, because now there's Roadhouse. Roadhouse is an alarm you can carry around in your pocket for those awkward situations. When you activate its alarm, you will hear the noise of a loud, warm, and applauding crowd. The volume's so high, it will make everyone turn around and notice you. In the pub, in the cafe, in the cinema, or even in the mall with your Tinder date. You'll be the envy of your friends with Roadhouse. Roadhouse! For those tough times, all you need is a crowd chanting your name 100 times. Sorry about that, guys. I had to cut to a sponsor because we had a few technical difficulties. Ed.
Basically, Tinder girl walked straight in, and it was the worst 11 seconds of my life, so I apologise.
Personally, I think Ed did it on purpose so he could get all of his sponsors in. But anyway, we were saying about who would benefit from the title, and you said Engel.
Yep.
And I think what you were going to say is he hasn't had a title in a long time.
Yep. I was purely going to say that I think he would benefit from it massively, and it would show that he can step away from the clown side of things. So it's a upward direction, but it's looking really good. So yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, knowing what you do know about the promos that Engel's been putting out regarding how he doesn't see the Extreme title as important, he sees it as a label of you being that thing that they keep at the back. Do you think that Engel would win it and then just toss it in trash?
No. I think Engel would use it as a sort of like a status, showing that he is properly moved on, and this is kind of his new life. This is almost his new chance.
Yep.
So in a way, I could definitely see Engel versus Dicey at Night of Glory, and then you've got two sides of redemption. Engel showing that he can be a new man, and then Dicey trying to have to fight against the odds.
Yep.
So that would be pretty intense, yeah.
What about the UK title? Who do you see as becoming a number one contender for that title? In fact, actually, we've got a title match, haven't we, on Anarchy?
Yeah. I was actually having a good chat with Liam the other night, actually, and I said, you know what, I think Cameron Faith, and this is not me, being saying it just for the sake of it. I'm saying it because I think Cameron will. I think the segment that was dropped on the show last time with Heath and Faith. I think somehow Faith will win next week, and I think a match that will happen at Gateway to Glory will be Heath versus Faith, but it won't be for the UK title. It will be actually for Faith's briefcase, and I can definitely see somehow Heath pinching the briefcase from Faith, and that would lead to obviously Heath taking that on and Faith having the championship. So I guess in a way it would kind of maybe make sense, but I definitely see Faith winning it.
Yeah.
Or even Perez even.
And the tag division. Now, at the moment, it's obviously quite a strong division. We've got quite a few tag teams, which allows obviously for multiple tag matches on a show. Sometimes you get multi-man ones, which I've said already I hate. Well, I hate writing them. I don't hate reading them, but it's a bit of a chore to actually write one. But do you see that? I mean, we talked about Cracks appearing in the Forgotten. There's two tag teams there. They're obviously sort of breaking up a little bit. Do you see that maybe weakening the division, or do you think that new additions have started to obviously bolster it?
I think there will always. I think that the tag team division is looking good, because obviously we've got the megastars who, well, they're becoming everyone's favourites, and too rightly, they're wicked, they're hilarious, they're great, they work really well, the dynamic's fantastic. Obviously Dopan Zero, if Cable's still around. You've got Austin and Corey, but I know it looks a bit dodgy there. And Tyson and Phillips as well. It's strong. It'll be interesting to see how if there are any other new tag teams coming along. But no, it's looking good. It'll be interesting to see, because it's a really strong division. It's good to see, because usually it doesn't seem to be strong on many sort of different feds. So to have it looking strong is pretty special.
Yeah, I mean, you look at WWE right now, and the only strong tag team really is New Day.
Yeah,
and you've got a few big ones coming through NXT.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the New Day, they're brilliant. If I had my way, the megastars would be the New Day of 6CW, but it's different in that. So.
Okay. Have you enjoyed being on the show?
I would be offended if you didn't ask me back, Pete.
Mate, I'd love to have. I would actually love to have you back.
Awesome.
I can announce that we've got a sort of tentative agreement between myself and Paul Derbyshire, who was the guest on the previous show, to sort of maybe have a full-time partnership.
Yep.
It would be great to have you back on the show to see that dynamic.
Absolutely. No, I'd love to. It's thanks for having me on. Yeah.
I'm trying not to schedule or announce another show, because I don't want to. Not because there's not one going to be happening. It's just the last time I announced a show, it didn't happen. Then I announced this one, and it was delayed for whatever reasons. So there is going to be another show. It will be after the next pay-per-view. I'm not going to let it get behind, but there will be another show in the near future. Do you want to give us a bit of progress on how 6CW Uncovered's going?
Yep. 6CW Uncovered will be happening soon. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. The shows, we've kind of sort of agreed it will be a Thursday.
Okay.
Maybe not this coming week, but maybe the week after. Purely because I need to get my act together. We've sorted out the structure of it, and it will be interesting. We're gonna see how it goes. We're quite lucky in a way. It's not like a normal show, so we can play around a little bit and have a bit of fun with it first and foremost. So it'll be interesting to see. So keep your eyes peeled, because it'll be interesting for sure, definitely.
Okay, and obviously I've got a few things in the pipeline. It'd be good for you and me to have a bit of a chat about Behind the Curtain, because I don't know if you saw in the Facebook chat, but Paul does kind of want me to get it going. So it'd be great to sort of work with your project, and obviously
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's cool, mate. No, that's brilliant. It's fine. It's all encompasses one thing, doesn't it? So it's fine.
Yep. Right, and if that is everything, guys, thank you for listening. Ed, thank you for being on the show.
Pete, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. And to the rest of you, get to ours. There are no tens in the world. Liam Woods, you are a heel. We have confirmed that. And what else? I think that's about it, isn't it, really?
I think that is about it.
What other trash do I say?
I need to have an attempt at this, right?
Yeah.
Get to ours.
Is you have to? It's like get to ours, mate. Get to ours.
Oh, really?
Yeah. That's what it's about, fella.
Okay.
You know?
Okay. Right.
It's get to ours. You know.
Right. Okay. I'm gonna go on the Russell now for a bit.
Wear that Russell cap. Mark Rutherford will be proud.
I'm gonna try and get this show done either tonight or tomorrow morning. So, yep. Thank you, and I'll see you all in chat and stuff. So, thank
See
you.
you later, guys. Take it easy.
Right. That's it.
Bye.
Bye. Are you uncomfortable on the toilet? Are you ever on the edge and feel a tension building up inside you? Do you ever think that this pipe bomb is going to pass and it's going to be a messy situation? Not to worry. With pipe bomb wipes, a messy situation is avoided. In an upward motion, you can be sure of zero mess and zero fuss. Built into these wipes is a fabric so soft that it can diffuse any situation. Once wiping, you simply dispose the wipe and your pipe bomb will be a thing of the past. Pipe bomb wipes. Better protection for those messy situations. Now in colours blue, gold and red. Pipe bomb wipes.